Number 409 on the calendar in the matter of Thompson versus Simmons.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat.
You must have been absent on the day that I told you never to co-sign on a car for anybody.
Yes, Your Honor.
Not a good day to be absent. In any event, you did, in fact, do that. You
yes,
co-signed on a car for Mr. Simmons while you were in a relationship. The relationship terminated, as most of these relationships do, and you repossessed the car. Mr. Simmons stopped, according to you, making payments on the car. You invested a lot in the car. You're stuck with those payments and those fees, and you want him to compensate you. Mr. Simmons says that you had a rather odd arrangement with regard to the car, and that was that as long as you were dating, you would make the payments on the car. That's what you said.
That's correct.
Right? And as soon as you stopped dating, he made the payments on the car, and you had no right to repossess the car. As a matter of fact, he was perfectly willing to put the car in his name and to assume all of the financial responsibility, and you chose to have the car towed to a secret location, preventing him from having access to what was really his vehicle. Is that right?
That's correct, Your Honor.
That's a first, Mr. Simmons, but I'm going to let you go there in a minute. How long were you and Mr. Simmons involved in a relationship before this car was purchased?
7 months.
7 months exclusively, 7 months living together, 7 months
7 months just exclusively dating.
Well, he just looked at you as if to say, maybe exclusive for you, honey, but not for me necessarily. That was the look. I'm just letting you know that that was the look. So after 7 months, would you let me share the circumstances surrounding purchasing this car from your perspective?
During the time that we dated, he frequently borrowed my car to drive about an hour and a half to pick up his daughter for visitations every other weekend because his vehicle was just not up for the drive. So when he approached me asking me to co-sign a loan for him to buy a new car, I looked at the fact that he had had a job for 7 years and kind of have a soft spot for dads that are devoted to their daughters, and I agreed to co-sign for the loan as long as I never had to spend a penny out of pocket for that car.
Is that what you said to him?
Oh, yes.
Absolutely not.
Shh. And so tell me what you did.
So I co-signed the loan, and...
did you go shopping with him?
No, he had it all picked out. The only time I ever went to the dealership with him was when we went to sign the papers.
When he purchased it?
Correct.
And the car was purchased when?
The car was purchased at the end of September in 2006. First payment he made in November of 06.
And how much was the payment that he made in November?
$543.41.
And you have proof of that?
Oh, yes.
Good. Go ahead.
Then he was laid off from his job just weeks later, so it was about Thanksgiving 2006.
He was laid off?
Yes.
Did he have a conversation with you about being laid off?
Oh, sure.
What did he say?
No, he was fired because he was late for work too often. He kind of has a liking to staying up all night drinking and playing video games.
Okay, so he was laid off from this job that he had for 7 years, according to you?
According to him. I didn't check his employment record.
Big mistake.
Yeah.
Okay, so then he's laid off, and what about December's payment?
He did not have the money for it, and I take great pride in my credit, so I said that I would make the payment at the due date and get the money to me as soon as he can.
And what did he say?
Absolutely. I'll get it to you as soon as I can.
What about January's payment?
Nope, same situation. He was still trying to find work. He was going to the temporary services, but it was so early in the morning, and he would be frustrated that they wouldn't have work for him.
Was he living with you?
Not at all, no.
What about February's payment?
By the beginning of February, he came to me with some cash. He had owed me still for a past phone bill. He'd often tell me he had money for me. And when it came time to bring the money to me, he would call and delay. And
in February, he brought you some cash. How much?
$800 cash on February the 3rd.
And that was for the?
It was for money that he owed me. The cell phone. I was also paying the insurance on the car.
Listen, I'm not a bookkeeper. I want to know how much of that $800 was for the car.
$105.
May I have a moment, Your Honor?
Sure.
The plaintiff suggested that if I had any problems initially making any car payments, that to not worry about it, don't feel so stressed and obligated because she was aware of my other financial obligations.
Don't tell me what she was aware of.
These are facts, Your Honor.
You made the payment in November, sir. According to the plaintiff, is that the truth or a lie?
Payment in November?
Yes, she can say
No,
that she can establish that you made the payment in November.
That's not correct.
Can I
made
see?
2 payments.
Shh. Can I see the November payment, please?
Yes, ma'am. It's a list of all the payments made on the car. November is on the bottom of the list.
You sure you didn't make the payment in November, sir?
Not from my account.
Did you give her money?
I gave her money occasionally,
Okay.
yes, but not directly related to that November payment.
Okay.
As she stated already, there are some phone bills and some things that she said that she would put in her account or put into her name so that I could maintain communication with her. And I told her that I would help her out occasionally when I had the finances to do that.
You were supposed to make the payments on this car, sir. According to you, you were supposed to make the payments on this car. And according to you, what you just said to me was, she told you, if you can't make the payments at some point, don't be so stressed, I'll cover them. That's what you started to tell me.
That's correct.
That's different from saying what you swore to in your answer, while we were dating, I'll make the payments. That's different. That's a whole different thing, Mr. Simmons. Do you get it? You can
back and forth from
listen, don't tell me flip-flop. Flip-flop doesn't make a contract. Flip-flop doesn't make a deal. If what she said to you, which may be true, listen, I don't want you to be stressed. If you're short, I'll cover for you because, you know, you've been paying me for the other things. Don't be stressed. That I believe. What I didn't believe when I read your answer that you swore to, sir, was the following.
Yeah, following.
She told me she would pay the monthly payments on a new Toyota Camry as long as we were together. That, Mr. Simmons, I didn't believe. You know why I don't believe it? Because it doesn't sit well with my common sense. And based upon what you just told me, I was accurate. Because she never said, as long as we're dating, I'll make the monthly payments. She said, I don't want you to stress. That's what you say. If you're short, I'll help you.
That's correct.
That's a different thing, Mr. Simmons.
I find the two to be very similar.
Well, maybe that's why you're standing there and I'm sitting here. Did you ever think of that?
No.
Maybe that's why I am continuously employed and you are not.
Okay, well, I'm employed now.
Well, that's wonderful. How old are you?
What does that have to do with anything?
I want to know how old you are. You have a child, you have a support order, and it's clear in December and January you weren't working. How could you not be working?
As she explained, my employment was terminated.
Well, so I just said to you, I'm continuously employed and you're not. And I don't have children that I have to support, thank God, anymore. If you said to me in your statement what you said to me just now, I would have believed you. I would have said, well, I could imagine a woman who's in love, you know, could just be that kind of sucker. You know, I want you to have a good car. If you're short on the money, I'll help you. But that's not what you said.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
How were you seeing him at that point?
I wasn't.
He says that you were still in a relationship.
We weren't.
Must have been through the astrologer.
That was probably it.
And later today,
I'm asking you, what proof do you have, sir, that she took the box?
She was the only one with the key that day, Your Honor. Nobody else ever knew where that lockbox was. She's the only one down there, ever.
Lisa Thompson says ex-boyfriend Scott Simmons owes for a Toyota Camry that was in her name. Scott says that Lisa is a woman scorned.
How much did you spend on his car before you repossessed it?
Before I could find it, I ended up making a total of 7 payments. He wasn't able to make a lot of them on time, so I would go in and pay the payment, and that would give him a few extra days to get to me with the money. He also gambled quite a bit, so he would gamble and then lose the money, and then he'd need a few more days.
In what month did you repossess the car?
I repossessed it in October because he was so far behind in the payments. I kept asking him to just give me the car, and I'll sell it and get him off the loan, and then we just don't have to deal with this
And what was
anymore.
his response?
No.
Why wouldn't you give her the car?
Because that wasn't part of our arrangement. Just like she suggested that I was supposed to be responsible
But you weren't
for
making
the car
payments on the. You weren't making payments on the
Because
car.
we were in a relationship.
No, not
Was she
anymore.
called? Yes, we were. She may have hidden it well from whoever else, or maybe she's delirious of the fact that we were still seeing one another at that moment.
You weren't paying for the car.
She was supposed to pay for the car.
No, sir, you just lied to me. That's not what you told me 5 minutes ago. 5 minutes ago,
5
you
minutes
said
ago, I
5
suggested
minutes.
that I would help her whenever I could.
No, that's not what you said. Not you would help her. You told me she would help you if you were short. That's what you told me. Here you said that she was supposed to make all the payments. Clearly, that's a lie. 5 minutes ago, Mr. Simmons, you said, she said not to stress if you couldn't make the payments, then she would help you out. Now your story is she was supposed to make the payments and you would help her out. That's 3 different stories, Mr. Simmons, in 10 minutes. I don't know what you saw in him, madam. I've been with him for a relatively short period of time. Evidently, you need a longer period of time in order to have that attraction sort of kick in.
I think so.
You had a key made to the car. You went
Yes, I did.
to his place of employment,
Well,
according
actually,
to
he
you.
wasn't working for all those months. So I spent hours and hours trying to find the car. He was evicted from his apartment, so I couldn't look there for him anymore.
How were you seeing him at that point?
I wasn't.
He says that you were still in a relationship.
We weren't.
Must have been through the astrologer.
That was probably it.
Go ahead.
So I searched for him and searched for him. I had everyone I know looking out for this car. I had the license plate. I had text
You finally
messages.
found it.
I finally
I have
found
other
it.
things to do.
Sorry. He ended up telling me he had just started back at his job. I showed up at his job while he was at work, sat in the car, called the tow truck, waited for them to come and get it.
So they towed the car to the company.
No, that had to do with the police. Wouldn't take any stand on it. They sent the tow truck home because it said it's a civil matter, but I wouldn't get out of the car. I said, well, it's not going to happen because I'm not going to get out of the car.
Great. So what happened?
He eventually gave in and took his stuff out of the car, but refused to give me the key still. So I had to have it towed to a dealership and have a new
That's
key
not
made.
correct.
Well, so tell me what happened, sir.
No, she said that she was going to give me opportunity to try to get the car refinanced.
I'd been telling you for
together,
months.
Together, we drove over to the dealership. Meanwhile, while I'm in the dealership trying to get this refinanced, work it all out, she's outside. I come back outside to talk to her, and the car is gone. In a scandalous way, she had the car towed from the dealership.
Perfect.
Oh, you like that now?
Oh, I certainly do, sir.
not
I certainly
true.
do. Did you bring any canceled checks to show me that in the 2 months prior to her taking possession of the car, you made the car payments?
Yes, ma'am.
Show me.
So last 3 pages. There were 2 car payments that I had made in the month of, I think it was March. Following that,
Just a second. Wait. In what month was the car repossessed?
I took it back the beginning of October.
In October.
Yes.
So we're talking about August and September.
there's a statement in there for August.
Well, you have something here that says girlfriend's account.
That's correct.
So in August, your girlfriend made a payment.
Through her account, correct.
Okay, and for $548.41. Okay?
That's correct.
Where is September?
Did not make payment September.
Why not?
Payment was already paid 2 months in advance. There was 2 payments made consecutively from February and March on the other statements that you have there.
We're not talking March. I'm asked you September. Show me September's payment, sir.
I just have August there.
Well, you didn't make September. Then in October, she said, I'm taking it back. Here, give this back to him. Wouldn't know the truth if it came up and slapped him in the face. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $4,659. Thank you. That's
Thank
all.
you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Spite, because I'm seeing somebody else.
I didn't care.
And when I didn't want to be with her anymore, she chose to take the car back.
All I wanted was the money to pay for the what's on my credit.
She was feeling neglected, yes.
Oh, Judge Judy's #1 rule, never co-sign a loan.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Gentry versus Stevenson, step forward, please.
Dan Gentry is suing his former friend, 23-year-old Danielle Stevenson, for stealing a lockbox full of cash from his home. Danielle denies the charge.
Mr. Gentry, you and Miss Stevenson had sort of a casual relationship. The relationship isn't that important to this case. What is important is that you believe that while she was performing some work at your house, and that work was cleaning your house, which she did on occasion for money,
Correct.
she stole a lockbox that you kept in the basement.
Correct.
And its contents. And Miss Stevenson says she did not.
Correct.
She never saw the lockbox.
No, I didn't.
And so you, Mr. Gentry, are going to have to tell me what proof do you have that Miss Stevenson took this box? Go ahead.
She had cleaned for me the end of June of '06. It was a Friday, the 25th. That night, I gave her a key to the house to come and clean the bathroom floor and do a few dishes the next day, okay? July 29th, when I came home from work at 7 p.m. that night, I came in, front door, of course. By my front door of the closet, I noticed an umbrella missing. I went in the bedroom. My top dresser drawer was pulled out, $25, $30 cash. Went in the kitchen. There was a fingernail file, metal fingernail file that was originally in the bathroom, laying on the kitchen counter. That made me think to go downstairs and look at the lockbox. I went down there, completely gone. Nothing ransacked. Doors completely closed.
That's on July 29th.
Correct.
Okay.
June 25th, she was down there cleaning by herself with a neighbor friend of mine. Her father and I had left to go to the store. She was down there 45 minutes, maybe an hour by herself, straightening up some bags. Nobody else knew where that lockbox was at or even could have found it.
So?
So when she was down there, more than likely she looked through there,
It's
being
possible.
in a...
I'm asking you what proof do you have, sir, that she took the box?
I don't have 100% proof, but
I'm not asking you for 100% proof. You don't need 100% proof in civil court, but you need proof.
Okay, well, she had it key to the house that day, the only person with the key for her to come that Saturday the next day to do the cleaning.
So keep going.
Like I said, that's when I came home that night. It was missing. Made a police report. I do have that. Photos where the lockbox was. From there, it went to a detective. Miss Mancini refused to take a polygraph test. From there, it went later on.
What's your name was Stevenson?
I got married. He didn't know that I had gotten married until probably a month or two ago.
Okay, go ahead.
Went to a prosecutor after that, and he said he couldn't do a whole lot with it. But the only thing is, when I called her that night of the 29th of July of 06, outside she said, check the side door. I might have left it unlocked. I threw some water out there or something. Of course, I went over and checked the door, screen door, big door, both unlocked. But she remembered to lock the front door when she left.
So?
My feeling, 1 in a million, someone could come in there and knew where that lockbox was.
They also took $25 or $30 out of your drawer,
Right.
according to you, and an umbrella,
Correct.
and your lockbox. Mm-hmm. Is that all the proof that you have against her?
She was the only one with the key that day, Your Honor.
Mr. Gentry, I don't even have to ask her any question. The fact that she had a key to your house doesn't mean that she took your property. Your door was also open. Is that correct?
The side door, which no one...
Side door was also open. Is that correct?
Correct. Left unlocked.
Mr. Gentry, I don't know whether she took your property or not, but the fact that she had access to your house, the fact that your property was missing, doesn't mean she took it. Doesn't mean she took it.
Okay. I do have a recording from my voicemail she had left after sometime August to February of 07.
Yeah.
That she'd left saying that she would pay me back even though she didn't do it.
Oh, she said she'll pay you back even though she didn't do it.
Mm-hmm. Nobody else ever knew where that lockbox was. She's the only one down there ever.
So what you're telling me is you have a voicemail from her that says, I didn't do it.
I didn't do it, but I would pay you because the detective had told her that she might be facing charges against her.
Is that right?
Yes. The reason I told him that I would pay it even though I didn't do it is because me and him were friends for like 4 or 5 years. This is somebody who I talk to every day, who was like my best friend. So him being mad at me, it made me upset. So I was willing to make payments to him on whatever he thought was stolen just so we could continue our friendship.
I wouldn't want to be friendly with somebody that thought I was a thief.
I kind of figured that if I said something like that, he might realize that I didn't do it. Because if I was going to steal from him, I would have done it during the beginning of our friendship, not towards the end after, my son spent time with him and everything else. He came to my parents' house, everything.
Whatever. You don't have enough evidence for me to even stretch it, sir, and reach a conclusion that you can establish, even in a civil proceeding, that she stole your property. Do you understand?
Yes.
Good. Your case is dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out. That's case number 398 on the calendar in the matter of Kennedy versus Kennedy.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Have a seat, please.
How old are you?
13?
Is your mother?
Yes.
And your father?
Yes.
You can wait outside. Mrs. Kennedy, this is your former husband, and it is your claim that he owes you some money for some bills that came up after your divorce papers had been filed and therefore were not resolved in the judgment of divorce.
That is correct.
That's pretty much your claim. Your husband says that these bills that you're asking for are petty, that he took care of the home and the children for 4 months after you left with absolutely no support from you, and the least you could do is pay for the electric.
That's correct.
When did the two of you separate?
We separated in August of 2005.
And I gather from what Mr. Kennedy says that you left the home.
I didn't leave the home until the sale of the home, which was in April of 2006.
In August 2005, were you living together?
Yes.
In September of 2005, were you living together?
Correct.
Mr. Kennedy, you said your wife left. When did she leave?
April 2006.
When she left in April of 2006, where were the children?
With me
For how long?
until July, I believe it was 19th of 2006.
And where were you?
I had moved to a different residence approximately 4 blocks away with my 2 oldest children from a previous relationship.
And you were there with the 4 children?
3.
3. How old were they?
Now they're 13, 9, and 7.
And who do they live with now?
They live with Carrie now.
Is that by agreement?
Yes,
And you pay child support?
I do.
How much?
Roughly $600 a month.
Is that correct?
That is correct. However, Your Honor, he wasn't paying child support until ordered by a judge and until his wages were garnished. For almost a year and a half, he did not pay child support.
Is that right, sir?
Correct, I wasn't working at the time.
I don't care. That's irrelevant to me. And I'm sure it was irrelevant to the court that you weren't working. Why weren't you working?
I guess I just couldn't find a job.
When you have 3 children, you find a job. You're an intelligent man, you know that. Okay, so then I'm less sympathetic with you, Mr. Kennedy. You see, I was getting sympathetic because if Mrs. Kennedy leaves and she leaves you with 3 children and she sends you no child support, I sort of feel as if $1,100 is pennies under those circumstances. But if you didn't pay any child support for over a year because you decided not to work, that's a lot longer than 3.5 months.
Correct, but I would pick up the children throughout the week, provide for them what I could. When I had a job, I'd give her half of whatever I made.
And you mean at the times when you weren't providing them with support and she was taking care of 5 children, she was supposed to say to the kids, we're not eating lunch today because Dad's not working and whatever I do. Do you work?
I do work, Your Honor.
What kind of work do you do?
I work for a promotions department. I organize events through the county.
Same job for how long?
Almost a year and a half.
Okay. When you left in April of 2006, according to your complaint, he was supposed to take the electric bill out of your name.
Correct.
Is that your agreement?
That is correct.
Well, that's what she's stuck with. She's stuck with that bill. That's what she's asking you for.
Initially, it was supposed to come to me, and I had contacted the electric company, told them I'd have to make payments on that. That wasn't good enough for them, so they decided to tack it onto her bill at her new house.
So then you owe, just a second, so you owe her that money. How much does he owe you for the electric bill?
$699.99, and that's not exactly how it went. He stayed in the house that we once shared, rented it from the new owner, couldn't continue paying the rent on it, and left. Moved in with a friend, left no forwarding address, and to my understanding made no contact to the electric company to get the bill resolved. And that's how it got transferred to me.
Fine, $699.99. It's yours. Let's go on to the income taxes, which is a far more interesting subject. Go ahead.
Income taxes, these are from the year of 2003 when Kevin was employed full-time and I was the stay-at-home mom. Apparently when he was unemployed after we separated, I don't know if the state of California had tried to make contact with him, but they couldn't find him. They found me because I was working.
Can I see the tax bill? You know about this tax bill, Mr. Kennedy?
Through my ex-wife, I do.
And?
When I moved from the house that we shared, I forwarded I had all my mail forwarded.
I'm not talking about the forwarding mail. I'm talking about this tax bill. It was money that clearly you were working full-time, correct?
Correct.
She was not employed outside of the home.
When we were together, no.
Did you owe child support for other children?
No.
A record show an outstanding child support obligation that has priority over your personal income tax liability.
Your Honor, I believe that's for the current child support he's owing back.
I see. The balance due here is $342.55. Did you pay it?
It's being garnished from my wages.
Show this to him, please. Have you ever seen that document?
I haven't read it. I just heard about it from her.
And he was given that information. He said he tried to make contact with them, but was on hold for too long.
I had my mail forwarded to a P.O. box. If they wanted to find me, they could have found me.
Maybe they did find you. Maybe you took it and threw it in the garbage. How do I know? It's your responsibility. Why didn't you pay it?
Because I didn't have the $300 and some to pay her.
Well, who are you living with now?
I live with some friends.
That's not a good enough answer for me. Who do you live with now? The names of the people that you live with.
Joshua and Tina. I think their last name is something like that.
How long have you lived with them?
4 months.
Are they a couple?
Yes. You could. Yeah.
You know, why bother to get into it with you? You owe her $1,100, Mr. Kennedy. When you have 3 children, you can't afford to be unemployed unless you are mentally or physically unable to work, neither of which appears to be so in your case. So you have 3 children, you have to do whatever you can do. You get a hack license, you drive a cab, you pick up cans, you go to work for the Parks Department. You can't take the day off.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Since July of 2006, he's lived with 5 different people.
Sounds as if he's not doing too well.
He's not, Your Honor.
And later today,
They signed a lease.
They signed a lease that I was not aware of.
What difference does it make? That was your agreement with her. She's not your mother. Why would she make your mortgage payment? Thick.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Carrie Kennedy says her ex-husband, Kevin Kennedy, owes for an electric bill, a cell phone bill, and for taxes from the state.
Okay. Now, did you get half the money from the house that was sold?
I did.
How much did you get?
I believe it was $32,000 or $36,000.
And how much did you get?
Approximately 20.
20.
That's incorrect, Your Honor. It was split right down the middle. You got half, I got half.
Why would she get more than you?
I agreed to give her more than I got because she was moving into a new place. And she complained to me that splitting it right down the middle wouldn't be fair to her.
Does that sound right?
He would not allow me to take anything out of the home that we had in the house, except for any personal items. He kept the refrigerators, the computers, TVs, everything else. I didn't get any of that until I took possession of the children in July of 2006. 6 because he had nowhere to move and had to move in with his girlfriend. Since July of 2006, he's lived with, I'm approximating 5 different people.
Sounds as if he's not doing too well.
He's not, Your Honor, and it's just incredibly sad that my oldest daughter has had to move back home with me to help me pay the bills.
Judge for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,100. That's all. Thank you.
Audience are excused. You may step out.
This money has been long owed to me, and I'm just glad it's done and over with.
I just hope there's no other bills that pop up that I have to be taken to court for.
I think this is going to be a never-ending battle.
I'm just ready to go home.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Smith versus Edwards. Step forward.
Real estate agent Chavez Smith is suing her former friend and client, Erica Edwards, for a loan to pay her mortgage payments.
All right, well, this is one of those little complicated cases that Byrd and I are going to try to figure out together. Miss Smith, you and Miss Edwards were friends. By the way, are you a licensed realtor?
Yes, I am.
In what state?
California.
According to your complaint, Miss Edwards wanted to sell her home.
Yes.
And you had initially found a buyer, but that deal fell through.
Yes, ma'am.
So you and Miss Edwards entered into this rather convoluted arrangement.
Yes.
Whereby you would make the mortgage payments on her home.
Yes.
While you were trying to find a purchaser.
Yes.
You might also rent the house while you were looking for a purchaser.
Yes.
And Miss Edwards would be out from under the problem of the mortgage, and she could go and live elsewhere. So far, is that about right?
Yes.
Yes.
She did move out of the house, and it is your claim that you made, I believe, 4 mortgage payments for her.
Yes.
She owes you that money.
Yes.
Miss Edwards says that she found out that you had in fact rented the house, didn't tell her that you had rented the house, collected money from the new tenant, did not pay the mortgage on time, thereby ruining her credit. She is counterclaiming for ruining her credit and for the money that you got from renting her house. When did you move out of your house, Miss Edwards?
I moved out May the 29th.
When was the first mortgage payment due?
May the 1st.
Is that the mortgage payment she was supposed to make?
Correct.
But you were living in the house the entire month of May.
She gave me the okay to take that money to put a deposit down on the apartment while she put tenants into the house.
Is that right?
Yes,
So you were supposed to make May's payment?
Yes.
And it's due on May the 1st?
Correct.
Did you make May's payment?
Yes, I did.
When?
June 8th.
Well, that's late.
Yes.
That's unacceptable. You understand that?
No, because I didn't tell her that the payment would be made on time. I was helping her.
No, Miss Smith.
I was helping her out
Miss
of a
Smith,
situation.
I read that in your answer to her counterclaim. And you said, well, I told her that I was going to make the payments, but I never said I would make the payments on time. It is presumed in the law that if you agree to take over the mortgage payment, it's understood. The same way it's understood if you say, I'll take over the mortgage payments, that you don't pay them in rupees or yen. You pay them in U.S. dollars. You don't have to write it out that you're going to pay them in U.S. dollars. You say, I'm going to take over the mortgage payments, and they will be paid. And they will be paid on time. You don't have to write on time.
But, Your Honor, we didn't come to that agreement until after she had moved out May 29th.
So you're saying you didn't come to the agreement to make the mortgage payment for May 1st.
Until it was already late.
Until it was, I see that. Is that correct?
That is not correct, Your Honor. We made this agreement the beginning of May.
When the beginning of May?
Around May 1st, because there's a grace period for the mortgage up until the 15th. And Ms. Smith agreed to go ahead and use my mortgage money for that month to put a deposit down on the apartment where I was moving to.
That's not correct.
No, I believe you.
That's not
just
correct.
a second. I believe you and I don't believe her. That she did not pay May 1st's mortgage payment on time, and you did not come to an agreement with her about this until after the mortgage payment for May was late. But then you had an agreement.
Yes.
So June 1st, you should have paid June's mortgage.
No, I paid June's mortgage on June 20th because I paid May's mortgage June 8th, so I paid June's mortgage June 20th.
And July?
And July, I paid July and August late.
When did you make the payments?
I made the payment both in September.
Well, that's unacceptable, Ms. Smith. That's unacceptable. So she has a legitimate gripe if she had reasonable credit, and I don't know if she did, and she said that this destroyed her credit, that you made these mortgage payments late. She has legitimate beef. How much were the mortgage payments you made for her?
It was $18.96.41 times 4.
Just a second. $18.96
and 41 cents.
7584. Okay. Now, you put a tenant into the house.
Yes, I did.
When?
They moved in June, but their payment wasn't good until July.
Why?
Well, the house was vacant, and they were in a situation to where they didn't have anywhere to go. So I allowed them to move in June and pay me for July.
How much did they pay you?
$1,450.
How much in total did you receive from these tenants?
I received $2,900 from the tenants.
The tenants also gave her a $1,000 deposit.
Did you add that in?
Yeah, oh no, they gave a $1,000 deposit, which was refunded to them.
Okay. I am deducting the amount she was paid by the tenants. Do you understand?
Yes.
Show me your credit score before June and show it to me after.
I wasn't able to get the credit score after, but I do have it before June.
Well, you have to show me both. How do I know that you were damaged? That's your counterclaim, that your credit score was damaged because your mortgage was paid late. Isn't that your counterclaim?
Yes.
Well, how
and
am I supposed to see that? I mean, as far as I'm concerned, if she paid your mortgage late and you could show damages as a result of paying the mortgage late, I would give you a certain amount to compensate you for that bad credit, but you can't prove that to me. Okay. Is there any reason why you don't owe her for these mortgage payments, $4,684? When did you move back into the house?
September the 15th.
She never moved back in.
September the 15th, the tenants moved out.
But she never moved in.
Who did?
Nobody. She left the house vacant until she just recently sold it a couple months ago. So
I moved back to the house.
Just a second. Hold it. Did you move back to the house?
Yes, I did.
In September?
September the 15th, when the tenants moved out.
And when did you sell the house?
September the 19th, 07.
So you sold the house 4 days later?
Yes. I didn't move my stuff. My stuff was in storage. I was there at the house.
Don't play with me. Will you please?
I'm not.
So you're playing with me. How much did you sell the house for?
$394,000.
How much did you pay for it?
$125,000.
Why didn't you give her the mortgage payments that she laid out for you?
What mortgage payments?
The mortgage payments that she paid for you.
The tenants that were there gave her the money for her to pay the mortgage.
No, they didn't.
Yes, they did.
Show me that.
They're her friends. They were friends of hers.
Just a second. Show me that.
They were friends of hers.
Bring a witness.
And they did not want to be involved.
Listen to me.
These are friends that she moved into the house.
Listen to me, my dear. She made mortgage payments totaling almost $8,000. According to her, she got rent for a 2-month period, which I have deducted $1,450. Were they month-to-month tenants, or did they sign a lease?
They signed a lease.
They signed a lease that I was not aware of.
What difference does it make? That was your agreement with her. She's not your mother. Why would she make your mortgage payment? Your agreement was she was going to rent the house. She was going to make the mortgage payment until such time the house... I'm speaking thick. Until such time as the house could be sold, then she would recoup her money and everybody would be happy. I mean, what do you think? This is a windfall? You think you get somebody else to pay your mortgage, you make $200,000 on the house, and you don't have to pay it back? What are you, an idiot?
No, I'm not.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $46.84. That's all. Step out. Your counterclaim's dismissed.
All these are excused. You may step out.
Business, friendship, and family really don't mix.
I guess the moral to all this is don't get business mixed with friendship.
At the end of the day, if somebody's trying to help you out as a friend, you would think that you would at least try to uphold your end of the bargain.
Be wiser and know what type of people you're dealing with.
I hate that it came to this.
We haven't talked since last year.
Sometimes people in your life are for a reason or season, and I guess this was just a reason. I help her transition to wherever she needs to be, and I'll move forward.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of parent versus parent. Step forward, please.
Sonny Parent is suing his ex-wife, Stephanie Parent, for the return of a laptop computer. Stephanie says that Sonny needs to move on.
You two folks had a short-term marriage, and from what I gather, a relatively amicable divorce. Is that right?
Correct.
Yes. Did you have lawyers?
No.
Did you use the court system?
Yes.
Filed papers?
Yes.
Clerks had to read the papers?
Correct.
Judge had to read the papers? Judge's law secretary had to read the papers before you were granted the divorce? So you gobbled up your share of the justice system, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
You're not going to gobble up any more time over nonsense. This is what this case is about. While you were married, there was a computer purchased.
Correct.
You say it was purchased for your business. She says it was purchased as a gift for her. I don't care. He doesn't care. You have two different versions of how she got her hands on the computer. You say she borrowed it. She says you borrowed it. I don't care. He doesn't care. How much was the computer?
$699.
When was it purchased?
In July, I do believe.
July 13th, 2006.
Yes.
So this $700 computer is now maybe worth $400. Who has the computer?
I do.
Do you want the computer or do you want to pay him $200?
I'll take the computer and pay him $200.
Perfect. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $200. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. Foltz versus Foltz. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
How old are you?
I'm 27.
You have brothers and sisters?
I have a younger sister.
How old is she?
She's 26.
And how long ago did your parents divorce?
I was about 3 or 4 years old.
Mr. Foltz, this is your daughter.
Yes, ma'am.
And your complaint is that you gave your daughter $3,000 for her wedding.
Yes, ma'am.
And because of circumstances, you decided not to go to the wedding, and you want that money back.
Yes, ma'am.
And your daughter said that this $3,000 was an unconditional gift, and she's already spent it on deposits, etc., for the wedding. When is the wedding scheduled?
May of next year.
Now, how many children do you have, Mr. Foltz?
2 children and 2 stepchildren.
And how long have you been married to your second wife?
15 years.
And how old are those children?
21.
21
25.
and 25.
Okay. So let's get down to it. You called your dad.
Mm-hmm.
You told him you were planning a wedding.
Mm-hmm.
You asked him for some help.
I actually didn't ask him for help. He said to me that he felt it was only fair that he pay 50% and that my mother pay 50%.
Well, that was very nice of him. So you had a reasonable relationship with him if he said that to you, at least now?
Up until, yeah, until recently, yes.
I want to ask your mother some questions, okay?
Come on up, Mom.
What's your last name?
Bean.
Your daughter told you initially, after she had spoken to her father, and her father agreed to contribute to the wedding, that it was her intention of having both of you walk her down the aisle?
Yes, ma'am.
And you were not happy with that?
It was not I was okay with it. I was fine with it. I was just worried that his animosity may create some problems.
Did you convey that to your daughter?
I already knew that.
Just a minute. That's not what I asked.
Yes, I did.
I'm asking you these questions, Jennifer, because, you know, if you've been around the block as long as I have, and as many times, nothing is new under the sun.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm getting the following picture. When you spoke to your father, and he said to you, I really want to pay for half the wedding, and you told him that it was your intention to have your 2 parents walk you down the aisle,
Mm-hmm.
he was pleased about that.
No, he wasn't.
Well, he says he was.
He wasn't.
Well, you don't know that because you weren't on the phone with him. But then later you told him that it was your intention only to have your mother walk you down the aisle.
Mm-hmm.
And it's then that he became angry.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, I want my money back. I'm not going to the wedding under those circumstances.
Can she tell you what happened after that?
Sure.
Tell her what happened after that. The planning.
Yeah, as my wedding planning progressed, my dad just kept making demands on me as far as he wanted his own table, he wanted it to be up front, he wanted to invite certain people, and he was just putting extra stress on me that I was already going through with the wedding.
Okay. Well, how many people were you planning on having at the wedding?
80, 100.
Well, then, wouldn't it be normal for him to have his own table?
I think he was under the impression that there would be my parents having their own table and my fiance's parents having their own table, and he wanted to make sure he wouldn't be sitting with my mother.
So, what's wrong with that?
There's a lot wrong with that.
No, there isn't. Jennifer. It's not a lot wrong with that. If you had 2 parents who really got along beautifully with each other and they had this lovely relationship that had developed over the years despite the fact that they were not together, then there wouldn't have been anything untoward about them sharing a table. But if you knew that they did not enjoy that kind of relationship, then you should have been smart enough to say, you have your table with your family. Of course, Dad.
Yeah,
you
I
have
did
your
say that.
If you have your table with your family, and Mom will have her table with her family, or maybe Mom will sit with, what's the boyfriend's name?
Doug.
Mom is going to sit with Doug's family, and you could sit with your family. 80 people. You're not going to all sit at one table. So, I've just taken care of that problem. Now, what's the second problem that he raised?
He wanted to invite certain guests, and I wanted to have a smaller wedding. I didn't want strangers
Who did he
at
want?
my wedding. Some close friends of his.
How many?
I think there were 2 of them.
That's reasonable, Jennifer.
Right, but if he wasn't even really involved in my life, why would he want to share that with other people?
Jennifer, you were willing to take his money, weren't you?
He offered
Just
it
a
to
second.
me.
You were willing to take his money,
Yes,
weren't you?
I was.
If you're willing to take his money, and if you said to him, and I want you and Mom to walk me down the aisle, and then you say, I changed my mind because he was making, according to you, unreasonable demands, I'm telling you, you're out of line. And I really wasn't prepared to go that way.
Listen, can I say something now?
Sure, you sure can.
I did not change my mind because I changed my mind because I'd always wanted it just to be my mom. It was my way of honoring my mom for raising me. I didn't do it to punish my dad. I didn't do it for anything other than to honor my mother. That's the only reason I made that decision.
Jennifer, my dear, then you shouldn't have told your father at the beginning, Dad, I want you and Mom to walk me down the aisle. You should not have told him that. Because what you're telling me now is, well, I told him that, but then he made these demands on me, which is what you said a moment ago.
It is what I said a moment ago.
Oh, yeah, he made these demands on me, which I now tell you, as a third party, totally unrelated to you, were totally appropriate requests from a person who really knows. Because although my husband and I have made many weddings, we have a mixed family.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand what you're talking about. You're wrong.
Okay.
You're wrong, and you did the wrong thing.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He said, I'm not looking forward to walking you down the aisle with your mother. And I said, why? And he goes, because we know how that turned out last time. And I said, Dad, you're not marrying my mother, you're giving me away.
And later today,
I never even knew that we were getting some kind of tax credit check.
I had called Kevin, asked him about it.
And what did he say?
How does he know that I didn't forge his signature?
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Arthur Foltz says his daughter Jennifer Foltz owes for money given towards her wedding. Arthur says Jennifer doesn't want him to walk her down the aisle.
Those 2 things that your father asked to have is a separate table, separate from your mother, and to invite 2 friends.
He also wanted his own limo. No.
Shh, just a second. Well, tell me about that.
He asked me if I was going to have a limo at the wedding, and I said, no, I don't need one. I'm just going to drive myself to the place, get ready there. Later on that evening, we got together for dinner, my father and I, and he said that he was going to have a limo for him and his friends.
So? He didn't ask you to pay for it, did he?
No, he didn't ask me to pay for it.
So?
But I just thought that was a little, odd. It's my wedding, but he wants to show up in the limo.
Who cares? Who cares if he comes in a bus? Who cares if he comes in a long bus, a short bus? It doesn't make any difference, Jennifer. You're picking on him. You're picking on him, honey. Life's too short.
It just bothers me that I didn't have much of a relationship with him when I was a child, and now he's trying to overtake the wedding and be a bigger part of the wedding than I feel he should be.
Jennifer, you're being a big baby.
I'm not being a big baby.
Yeah, you're being a big baby. And if you have bad feelings about your dad because he wasn't there for you when you were growing up, lots of children of divorce feel that way about their parents, especially when their parents remarry and have second family, right? That they're involved with, that live with them. Their kids feel as if I didn't have the benefit of really a full-time or even a part-time great parent. It's never too late.
I don't feel as if it's too late.
Well, you shouldn't feel as if it's too late. And it's a shame if your father doesn't go to the wedding. It's a shame if you have a wedding that doesn't include your father and his wife and your mother. Are you remarried?
No.
And whoever she wants to bring, if she wants to bring anybody, and everybody else who's part of your life. It's a shame that you don't have that moment. You will, listen to me, you will always regret it. Because, you know why, Jennifer? You'll always look at that book of pictures and there'll be a bad feeling that he wasn't there.
You know what, though? When I told him that I wanted just my mom to walk him down the aisle, he said to me that I want nothing to do with your wedding. He took himself out of the wedding. I can understand he's hurt. I'm sure he's hurt. But if he doesn't go to my wedding, it's on his terms, not mine.
No, Jennifer, you're wrong. You're being young. You're being young. I disagree with him if what he chooses to do is to not go to the wedding. But I'm telling you, you're not a baby. You're a big girl.
I am a big girl.
And your mother should be a big person. And your mother should say, usually, if one parent walks a child down the aisle, it's usually their father, not their mother, unless their father's dead. And in this case, if you want to be a big person, and you want to be a big person, you say, for that 30 seconds that it takes to walk down the aisle, let's walk our daughter, our firstborn, down the aisle together and give her away, and then there'll be a picture of her family at her wedding. Because, you know, what can happen is 10 years from now, when you and Doug have 2 kids, and you and your father have hopefully reconciled, your children will say to you, where's Poppy's picture at your wedding? And if you have not reconciled, then what you're doing is you're depriving your children of the widest possible community of love and affection.
I wouldn't be the one that would deprive them of that, though. He would be the one that would not make the effort.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Arthur Foltz says his daughter Jennifer Foltz owes for money given towards her wedding. Arthur says Jennifer doesn't want him to walk her down the aisle.
Jennifer, you hurt him.
I know.
You hurt him.
I understand that.
You hurt him. He's supposed to be bigger than that. Your mother is supposed to be bigger than that.
I didn't do a thing.
Well, you did, Miss Bean.
Yeah, exactly.
You did, because you said to your daughter, and you acknowledged that you said to your daughter, I hope he can get over certain things, and I hope he's not going to be hostile. And
In response to his hostility when
What?
she told him that we were going to do it together.
Madam, I'm talking about before you got there. Before you got to the point where she said, I changed my mind, Dad, only Mom is walking me down the aisle. Then he got hostile.
He was
Fine.
hostile before I changed my mind.
He was hostile from the beginning.
He said, I'm
Oh,
not looking
please.
forward to walking you down the aisle with your mother. And I said, why? And he goes, because we know how that turned out last time. And I said, Dad, you're not marrying my mother. You're giving me away.
Is that true, sir?
No, ma'am.
I mean, I don't understand how that could be true if he said to you, I want to pay for half the wedding. In the same conversation, when he said to you, I want to pay for half the wedding, and you're telling me now that his conversation was hostile?
Yes.
I don't believe you. Listen, Mr. Foltz, I can see I'm not getting anywhere. I've made my best effort, sir. You gave your daughter $3,000 for the wedding. It was a no-strings gift. I hope you go to the wedding. And Jennifer, I think if you want to grow up to be a big person and your mother wants to be the loving mother that she is, you will decide that it's the right thing that both your parents walk you down the aisle. You still have plenty of time to do that and to make up so that you don't end up looking at that wedding album 20 years from now and saying it was really a sad day. Mr. Foltz,
Your Honor.
say nothing. Say nothing. You made your daughter a $3,000 contribution towards her wedding. I hope she does the right thing with it. That's
I do
all.
have things
Case
to say,
over.
Your Honor.
Others are excused. You may step out.
I think we're still both very hurt and angry, and I think that neither one of us really wants to take the step towards mending our relationship.
25 years ago, I tried to make amends to my ex-husband for the trouble that I caused in our divorce.
Her statement that I didn't raise her, and that's, it's very hurtful to me.
25 years is a long time to hold a grudge. But I don't want to see anything between him and my daughter get worse and divide them forever.
My heart tells me that I love her, but I just don't think it's being reciprocated.
You know, my wedding's supposed to be a happy time, and it's turning out to be not quite so happy.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Martin versus Martin. Step forward.
26-year-old insurance sales assistant Karen Martin is suing her ex-husband, home improvement salesman Kevin Martin, for stealing her share of a tax refund. Karen claims Kevin forged her signature on the check.
Ms. Martin, the defendant is your former husband. It is your claim that there was a government refund check in the amount of $400 that was issued to both of you. It is your claim that Mr. Martin forged your signature to that check, cashed that check, and you want your $200.
Yes, that is correct.
Mr. Martin says there was no check that he received. He did not forge your name to any check, and he, quite frankly, doesn't know what you're talking about.
Okay.
So let us assume for a moment that a refund check was sent to Mr. and Mrs. Martin. So your obligation now, Ms. Martin, is to establish that he forged your name to that check.
Okay.
I'm waiting for you.
Okay, I do have a copy of the check where it's signed by him, and that is not my signature.
Okay.
I do have other...
Okay, let me see it.
Okay.
Mr. Martin, the Family Service Center, you familiar with that institution?
Yes, I am.
Tell me about that institution, sir.
It's a credit union that we had, as we were married, had an account there.
Mm-hmm. Are you trying to tell me, clearly this check was sent to the two of you, and clearly it was endorsed by two people.
I never knew anything about the check. I never even knew that we were getting some kind of tax credit check.
How did you find out about the check, Miss Martin?
My cousin had received hers, and she had asked me if I got anything on it, and
These were the checks that were $400 that were issued to families by President Bush, is that right?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. It was $400 per child, and she had received hers and asked me if I received mine, and I said, no, I didn't. Mm-hmm. And I had called Kevin, asked him about it.
And what did he say?
He said, he had still said, I have no idea what you're talking about. How do you, actually he said, how do you know that or how does he know that I didn't forge his signature?
So, Mr. Martin, what I'm asking you is that the conversation you had? How do I know you didn't forge my signature? Right?
Yes.
Okay. So this is the answer. The answer is you weren't calling her to complain that you didn't get your $200, right?
I never knew.
Now listen to me.
Okay.
You weren't calling her, Mr. Martin, to complain that you didn't get your $200.
No.
Because according to you, you didn't know about it. So, why would she call you to complain? Listen to me. Call you to complain. If she had forged your signature to the check so that she got the entire $400 and you weren't calling her to complain about it, you get my drift, sir?
I understand what you're saying.
Old story. If it doesn't make sense, it's usually not true. And if it walks like a duck and talks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's a duck. So somebody from your credit union cashed this... I'm speaking! Somebody from your credit union cashed this check with a signature that I have compared with the signature on your answer and with a signature that I have compared with the signature on Miss Martin's complaint. And while that's not necessarily dispositive of who forged whose signature, the signature on this check, your signature on this check, is eerily similar to your signature on the answer. While her signature on the check is no way similar to her signature on her complaint. So I put those facts together, and you know what I came up with? Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $200. That's all. Step out.
Ms. Pierce, parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Mr. Pierce, the defendants are your daughter and son-in-law.
Yes, ma'am.
Your lawsuit consists of two parts. The first part has to do with an old debt, and that is a debt that stems from purchase of a washer and dryer. Several years ago, according to you, your daughter needed a new washer and dryer. You agreed to put it on your credit card, and according to you, the arrangement was that they would pay the credit card charges. You ended up paying for the whole thing because they were paying sporadically.
Yes, ma'am.
And they've never paid you back for that.
No, ma'am.
Second part of the lawsuit is you claim that sometime more recently, either or both of them used your ATM card without your permission and withdrew, I believe, $2,700?
It was actually just a little over 25, ma'am.
And you want that money back?
Yes, ma'am.
How much was the washer and dryer?
The actual purchase price was $726.
Okay. Who wants to talk?
I will.
Go. Let's start with the washer and dryer.
Washer and dryer, I was told that it was going to be a gift to us for our wedding.
Who told you that?
Sue and Chuck.
Really?
Yes.
When did they tell you that?
It was the day they bought it.
Did you ever tell them that?
No, ma'am, I did not.
Now, I don't care, sir, whether you didn't know that this was a loan because your wife didn't tell you, because I've got her answer. But don't lie to me, because clearly this was never given to you as a gift with a statement by your father-in-law that it was a gift because your wife acknowledged that it wasn't a gift. Is that right?
That's correct.
Now, she may not have told you that at the time.
I found out about 2 weeks ago.
I understand that. But don't lie to me and say he told you it was a gift.
Well, him and his wife both told me that it was a gift.
Why would they tell you it was a gift when it was not?
I don't know.
Did you have some sort of an arrangement with your daughter not to tell him?
No, ma'am.
Now, what arrangement did you have with your father?
I had told my mother and my father both that I would make the payments, and then Mike and I ended up splitting up, and I could no longer make the payment.
So they bought the washer and dryer when?
Around the end of '97.
Okay. And you and your husband broke up when?
Around the beginning of '98.
Had you made the payments up until that time?
I'm pretty sure, yes.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so?
And so I told him I could no longer make the payment, and I told him he could have it back if he liked.
Well, what was he going to do with it?
I don't know.
Whatever he wanted.
Well, how much do you think the store was going to give them for a used washer and dryer?
He was so desperate to get it back. He had more than an opportunity to come and pick it up.
What was he supposed to do with it?
Whatever he felt like, he could have put it on top of his house.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a delivery driver.
What do you deliver?
Newspapers.
I mean, don't you fail to see the logic in your response? Let me ask you this, sir. You own a car?
No, ma'am.
Did you ever own a car?
Yes, I have.
Did you buy it yourself?
Yes, I did.
Did you buy it new or used?
It was used.
Did you pay it off?
Actually, yes, I did.
So let's say you buy the car January 1st of 2000, and you buy the car for $1,000, and you drive it for 6 months, and you find that you can no longer make the payments. So you say, I'm going to take the car back. Now all the debts is cleared. That's it,
No.
I'm taking the car back.
I never had any written...
No. Just pay attention to what I'm saying to you. You think that that's what a car dealer does? Takes the car back and say, thank you very much, you couldn't afford it, we're really sorry.
No.
No, because once you take out a car, it depreciates in value.
Yeah, and I have a written agreement also with the car, not with the washer.
You don't need a written agreement, sir. You don't need a written agreement to have a contract. You can have an oral contract as long as there is an offer, which was made, and acceptance. That's what makes a contract. See, I just taught you something. Now, when did you get back with Mr. Charming?
I don't know, it was probably like 7 months later.
So 7 months later, you got back together. Did you start to make the payments then?
I don't believe so, but I think it started in December of last year till either February or March. I was making payments to my mother of $50. Is
that right?
Day.
I believe so.
So how much did she pay off in total? You have to tell me, sir. She sounds to me like she made a lot of payments.
Actually, probably, I would guess, probably $700 or $800.
That would pay off the washer and dryer.
Just a minute. That paid off the washer and dryer. If you're guessing. Did anybody keep receipts? Anybody keep money?
I don't handle the finances in the family, ma'am.
Well, who does?
My wife does.
Where is she?
She's at home at work.
Forget washer dryer, as far as I'm concerned. You did the right thing, according to your father, and if you paid off $700 or $800, he's guessing, and you don't have any records, I assume the washer and dryer is paid off. See, you're home free. Now, who took the ATM card?
I did.
Why?
Because me and my wife were in some financial problems.
Well, tell me how you took the credit card.
I got it off the kitchen counter.
You walked into your in-laws' house and you just took it off?
Yes.
Did you tell your wife about it?
Yes, she knew about it.
What'd you tell her?
I told her that it was something that we discussed, and we put the
Tell
money...
me what the discussion was, Mr. McCombs.
That we would take their card, take the money out, and then put the money back as soon as we had it. And that's exactly what we did.
You stole money.
Yes, and I put it back.
You stole money. How did you get caught?
I guess he got his bank statements and noticed that there was a couple withdrawals on there that weren't from him.
Show me the money that was withdrawn by them.
Here's the copies of the actual bank statements. And the amounts are highlighted, ma'am.
How do you know that these are their withdrawals?
I'm a long-haul truck driver. I'm not home during the week. And as we determined, they were all done at approximately the same time.
I see. 7-Eleven. Is that where you took the money from?
No. Took it from Washington Mutual Bank, their bank, to avoid a surcharge.
Where did you take the money from?
Washington Mutual
I'm not
Bank.
asking you. Where did you take the money from?
I believe I did it once, and it was at 7-Eleven, I would believe.
Father agreed not to prosecute these charges. Is that right?
Apparently, yes.
What do you mean, apparently, yes? What does that mean?
We're here and not there, so apparently...
We're talking about a long time ago, madam.
Yes.
And what was the arrangement with your father with regard to him agreeing not to prosecute?
Mike made the arrangements with my mother. And my
Which
mom,
was?
Ask him.
I'm asking you.
That he would be responsible to pay them back the money.
Now, Why isn't your wife here, sir?
She was unable to come down because of her job.
Is it possible she didn't want to come down here and confront her daughter?
Could have been.
Did you discuss that?
Yes, she was hoping to be kept out of it to save her relationship with her daughter.
Time to bring up.
Excuse me?
No, just a talk her and her mother had last night.
Which was?
Which is, if I didn't stand up, he would make my mother choose between me or him.
Who's he, your father?
Yes.
Parents been pretty good to you?
Her mother.
Her mother?
But she wasn't asking you.
That was the smartest thing I've heard you say. That was the smartest thing I've heard you say so far. You probably ought to say it more often.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Charles Pierce says his daughter Rose Pierce and her husband Michael McCombs owe for a washer and dryer. Charles also says they used his ATM card to steal money.
Now, your arrangement was that you would take responsibility. You have a memory lapse with regard to how much money you took out of your in-laws' account. The fact that you stole from them and you knew that you were stealing from your parents is really an outrageous thing. I know that you probably paid a lot more in service charges and credit charges over this 726 with regard to the washer and dryer. However, Mr. Pierce, since you don't keep good records and your wife is not here, and since your daughter did in fact make an attempt to pay and did, according to you, pay at least $700 or $800, I am wiping out that debt. However, I find that they are responsible for unauthorized withdrawals from your bank account in the amount of $2,536.50. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Just happy to see justice done.
It's pretty sad. You have to come to court for it.
I expect people to honor their word and pay their debts like they should.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Summer versus Bree, step forward, please.
53-year-old property manager Stephen Summer is suing the mother of his son's former friend, 49-year-old nurse Jan Bree, and her son, 17-year-old Joey. Stephen says Joey, together with his son, 16-year-old Chris, stole his credit cards and ran away.
Mr. Summer, it is your claim that your son and the defendant's son stole your truck, stole your credit cards, took some cash out of your house, ran away to Vegas or something, had a spree. Not once, but twice. And you want the defendant to pay for half the damage to the truck, half of the credit cards that they built up on this little jaunt that they had, and also half the cash that was taken from your house.
Correct, Your Honor.
Okay. So, for the time being, I just want the two boys right up where you are, and the parents can sit down. All right, so let's get to the first occasion when your father's truck was taken. Tell me about that, Christopher.
I was in my house, and Joseph was staying over at my house, and I just was fed up staying at home, so I wanted to leave and asked him if he wanted to come, and so we left.
And tell me about your father's credit cards.
I took a couple of his credit cards.
I want to know how you did that.
Out of his wallet.
Where was his wallet?
In our office, I think, Your Honor.
Who went into the office?
I did, Your Honor.
Alone?
Yes, Your Honor.
And what did you do with the credit cards?
Put them in my pocket, and then we left.
Where did you go?
Towards Las Vegas, Nevada.
Did you ever end up there?
Yes.
When was the first time you used the credit card?
A couple hours after that night in Anthem, Arizona, at a bank, Bank of America.
And how did you use the credit card?
We stopped at an ATM and withdraw some money.
You stopped the car.
Yes.
And when you got out at the ATM, what did you do?
We had the money and then we left after that.
When you say we had the money, where did Joseph stay?
He was in the truck.
He stayed in the truck while you went and withdrew the money?
Yes.
And then you kept going?
Yes.
When did you next use the credit card?
At a gas station, maybe 3 hours away.
So all told, you used the credit card and you stayed at a motel?
In Las Vegas, yes.
And then did you go home?
Yes.
Voluntarily?
We stayed at a halfway place and then our parents came to pick us up.
Did the police stop you?
Well, we came out of the hotel and the police were waiting there.
And then your parents came and picked you up?
Yes.
I would assume that they had a serious discussion with you when you got home?
Yes.
But then you got bored again?
Yes.
When did you get bored again? How much later?
A month later.
So tell me what happened.
I was there and then I just got tired of it and so I left in my dad's Mazda truck.
And when you left in the truck this time, did you take any of your father's credit cards?
Yes.
Where'd you get them from?
His wallet.
Again?
Yes.
And where was his wallet?
In his bedroom.
And where were the truck keys?
The truck keys to his Mazda was in his pants pocket.
And where was your father when this was all going on?
He was sleeping.
So what time did you leave?
11 o'clock that night.
And you went and picked up Joseph?
Yes.
Well, tell me what happened when you got to his house.
I got to his house and I parked alongside of his road, walked up to his house and his light was on. And I went and knocked on his window and he had his stuff and so we left.
What stuff?
Some clothes and...
Well, had you made arrangements with him before to
Yes.
take off again?
Yes.
Well, tell me about that. When did you call him and tell him you were going to take off again?
Earlier that day.
What did you say to him and what did he say to you?
I just said I wanted to leave and asked him if he wanted to go and he said yes.
And you took off again. Where did you go this time?
Towards Chicago, Illinois.
And how many days later did you get stopped?
3 or 4 days later.
And you used your father's credit cards all during that time?
Yes.
And you got stopped by the police again?
Yes.
So, Joseph, you want to tell me how come you went along for the ride twice?
I was in a lot of trouble, and I was in trouble with my girlfriend. I was in a lot of trouble at home, and just kind of wanted to get away from there because I had nothing to lose, that kind of stuff. That's about all. Rebelling, I guess.
Now I'll take the parents. No, you stay up there, Christopher. You're involved. Mr. Summer, did you have any conversation with Mrs. Bree with regard to her repaying you for any of the damages to your truck or anything else?
Yes, Your Honor.
Tell me what kind of conversations you had with her.
Basically, Your Honor, I summarized all the charges and accumulated all the debts and payments and everything that were expected, and I put together a concise list that I expected to have Joy reimburse us for his 50%, and I felt they were equally responsible for these events, and I presented it to her and asked her that she review them, present them to Joy, get his approval or disapproval, have him sign a promissory note to repay all of the charges, and I would continue that debt to be paid.
And what did she say to you?
She said, I'll go home and we'll review it.
Mr. Summer, let me tell you what my feelings are. I read your complaint very carefully. The defendant's answer suggests that her son was just along for the ride. Well, I don't think that's entirely true, Miss Bree. The problem that I have, Mr. Summer, with your complaint is that while you may not have been on notice the first time that your son had a propensity to steal your property, certainly after the first runaway, you were on notice. And it seems to me from what your son tells me that you took no extra precautions, like putting a lock on your car so that it couldn't be started, like making sure that the keys to all of your vehicles were at a place where he couldn't get them, to securing your wallet, because it would seem to me that but for the fact that all of these things were left as accessible to him as they were the first time, he wouldn't have been able to get into the car and to make arrangements with Joseph to run away again. I mean, I'm not saying that he exercised good judgment. I mean, you have two idiots. They're two idiots, but they're two 17-year-old idiots. You have the ability after the first runaway to secure your cars and secure your cash and secure your cards so that your son wouldn't be in a position to do it again. And I know it's a terrible way to live, but for the fact that these things were so accessible, we wouldn't be here today.
They were inaccessible, Your Honor, in my estimation.
How were they inaccessible if you did it?
The keys and the wallet were in my pants, and they were at the head of my bed, and he had slid into the bedroom in the dark and broken down a lamp that had a hook on it, and he hooked the pants and slyly dragged them out of the room and confiscated and took the keys to the Mazda.
Did you get your life straightened out?
Yes, Your Honor, I have.
Have you?
Yes, I have, Your Honor.
You two boys still friends?
No, Your Honor.
You going to school?
Your Honor, I went to a quasi-military camp for 5 months, Your Honor, and I graduated from high school with my diploma and my GED, Your Honor.
Okay, and what about you?
I am still enrolled in school, Your Honor.
Going?
Yes.
Still got the same girlfriend?
Yes, Your Honor, I do.
Haven't run away since?
No, Your Honor, I'm an explorer for the Phoenix Police Department now.
Well, at least they got you involved in something. Anyway, Miss Bree, let me tell you what I believe you are responsible for. I believe you are responsible not for $2,500 worth of charges for all of that, but I believe that your son used half of what was spent on the credit cards just for their jaunts. He knew it was the wrong thing to do. And he spent, and he ate, and he slept, and he drove in a truck that had gas, and that's going to cost $187 because that's half of what the credit card bills were. Judgment for the plaintiff. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Now, this is case number 249 on the calendar in the matter of Garcia versus Johnson.
Thank you.
Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated.
All right, you got more complaints against him than I probably have time for today, so we're going to see if we can get through each of the 3 complaints you have against Mr. Johnson, who used to be your boyfriend. Now you claim he owes you for a deposit that you put down on a truck for him, $2,500?
Yes.
That he lived sort of as a freeloader.
Yes.
But there was an understanding that when you got laid off from your teaching position for the summer, he would pay the rent for the summer.
Yes.
And he didn't.
No.
And then you claim that he filed false charges against you for assault, causing you to spend the night in jail and $1,000 bail.
Yes.
Mr. Johnson says the truck was his.
Yes.
He made the payments on it.
Yes.
He says that the charges he made against you to the police were absolutely true. You did, in fact, assault him.
I got a police report too, Your Honor.
And as far as the rent is concerned, he never promised to pay the rent for the summer. As a matter of fact, he wasn't even living with you in August.
She kicked me out.
I would kick you out if you send me to jail for domestic violence.
Don't speak to him. That's why you're here.
Okay.
All right, Miss Garcia, when did Mr. Johnson move in with you?
Late September of 2006.
What was the financial arrangement?
Well, he didn't have a stable job, and, you know, I did. So I told him, I said, once you get back on your feet, you know, and I'd always, through the months, tell you need to get a better job. You need to get a better job. You need to help me. You need to,
All right, so you need to help me. You need to get a better job. I don't hear a financial arrangement.
Well, I told him, I said, coming June, because we are laid off for the summer, I said, you need to pay June, July, August. I told him that, because he would have a job by then. I mean, you would think in 7, 8 months he would have a better job.
So right now you have no financial arrangement with him with regard to rent.
Yes, I did. I told him.
No, you didn't.
I told him that he was responsible for June, July, and August.
I don't care what you told him. That's not a contract.
He didn't want to write one. He didn't want to write one because he doesn't want to sign
anything. You don't have to write one.
He didn't want to sign anything.
Listen to me. You don't have to write one. You have to agree. Just because you told him doesn't make it so.
He agreed.
He moved out.
No, he moved out at the end of July.
She kicked me out.
And I told him he was responsible from June to August.
Okay, good.
And
That's
he
what you
said,
told him.
I agree, and
Let
I
me hear
will
about
help you.
the truck, please.
The truck, the only reason we got the truck was because I was my credit. I'm the main purchaser on it. I have receipts that I paid it.
Show me proof, please, that you put the down payment on the truck.
Well, I have my income taxes stating how much I got, and these are all my payslips that I've been working.
I want proof that you put down on the truck $2,500. That's not proof of anything.
They're in the papers that he has in the truck.
Good. Mr. Johnson, look at me. Who put down the down payment?
We both did.
No, he did.
Both did from what? Don't speak.
From a paycheck that I got and her income taxes.
How much did she put in?
Like $2,000.
And how much did you put in?
Like $300.
How much was put down altogether?
$25.
Mr. Johnson, let's not play with me, please. Don't be irritating. I get irritated very easily. The older I get, the shorter the fuse I have, sir. So she put down the down payment of $2,500.
She put down most of it.
She put down the whole down payment of $2,500. Get over. Now, who made the payments on the truck?
We both did, but I made most of them.
Show me.
I don't.
What do you mean you don't?
I mean, I don't got no receipts.
You don't have any receipts? Show me proof that you made the payments on the truck. When did you get the truck? September of 06?
No, we got it in February.
Of 07?
Yes, ma'am.
And how much were the payments each month?
$388.
Good. Now, what are you showing me there?
A printout from the loan place showing that I paid the truck and what
She wasn't
days.
even working at the time.
Listen to me. Does that say you paid for the truck, or does that say somebody paid for the truck?
It says Crystal Garcia.
No. Listen to me very carefully. Is that the loan itself that indicates the loan is in your name?
Yes.
And that the payments were made?
Yes.
I'm not interested in that. I want to see proof from your bank account that $388 came out.
We would go personally to the place because we cannot open a bank account, or we couldn't open a bank account because he has bad bank problems or something. So I didn't have direct deposit for it to come out of my bank account. So I would personally go and pay them cash.
Listen to me. If you think that I believe that story that you just told me, I don't. Show me from your bank that you took out money every month to pay this $388. Not that the loan was paid, but that you took out the money from your bank for.
Okay, the only way I would be able to pay
April,
that or prove that to you is by you looking over my pay stubs, because I made enough money.
I'm not looking over your pay stubs.
Direct deposit. That's the only way I could have got the money from the bank. That's the only way.
Perfect. I'm not accepting that.
Well, I'm not here to ask for the payments for the truck. All I want is a deposit so I can go ahead and have my son and me driving the truck. I don't want the payments.
Fine. You're entitled to your deposit back.
Yes, that's all I want from him.
Fine.
And the money.
Fine. You're entitled to your deposit back. That I believe that you put in. Do you understand that, sir?
Yes.
She gets a deposit back. You have the truck?
Yes.
You're driving the truck?
Yes.
Are you paying for it?
Yes.
Are your payments current?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
No. Shh. If she shows me that your payments are not current on this truck, I'm going to wipe up the floor with you.
I paid the last payment last month. I didn't know I should have brought a receipt. I guess she has all the receipts.
I didn't ask you whether you paid last month. I said, are your payments current?
Yes, they are.
So you've made all your payments?
Yes.
Since when?
Since like 3-4 months ago.
Was it 3 months ago or 4?
4.
4. Good. Show me.
He was late, and here are the...
She wasn't working at the time to even be paying the bills on the truck.
Listen to me. You said you made the last 4 payments, correct?
Correct.
He paid like $300, and then he was late $88.
If you shout out again, I'm throwing you out of here. Do you understand?
Yes.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Right when he grabbed the keys from my hand, I held onto his shirt because my property was in there. And the only way for me to protect my and my son's stuff was to hold on.
Ridiculous. You're ridiculous.
And later today,
Where did you go for 3,400 miles?
Well, I went back and forth to work.
Where do you work?
Vanderbilt Security.
In what country?
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Crystal Garcia claims ex-boyfriend Terrell Johnson owes for rent, the down payment on a truck, and for filing false charges of domestic abuse.
Okay, now tell me about these false charges that you're charging him with.
Okay. 3 days prior to that day that I was arrested, he was not so nice, and of course I have to look out for my son, so I left. I left and I stayed with my mom. And he was drinking. He would go to my mom demanding the keys, making a big scene.
Demanding the keys to what?
To the truck.
You took the truck?
Yeah, because I wasn't going to let him drive it while he was drinking.
But you didn't have a driver's license.
Exactly.
Yes, I did.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
No, you
Just
didn't.
a minute. You have a driver's license now?
Yes.
It says in the police report that she don't got a driver's license.
I'd like to see the police report. Anyway, so you went back to the house to get some clothes, and?
And he called me, and he's like, I'm going to go pick up my clothes from the truck. I said, okay, that's fine. So he comes in, like, we don't have no problems. He's trying to sweet talk me, for me to still be with him. And I'm like, you know what? No, I don't need this for me and my son. I don't need you to be drinking, yelling obscenities to me, calling me names. I don't need that. So I do not want to be with you. And then he demanded, you know what? I want the keys to the truck. And I said, no, you know what I mean? I said, no. I unlocked the truck with the alarm, and I told him, go get your stuff. So we were right outside my door, and he snatched the keys right out of my hands.
Can I say something?
And I was like, you know what? I was like, why you do that? So right when he grabbed the keys from my hands, I held onto his shirt because my baby's car seat.
You were choking.
My property was in there, and that's everything that I have earned, and I'm not going to let somebody go and take it away. So who knows what he's going to do with it? I don't know what he's going to do with it. So the only way at that time for me to protect my and my son's stuff was to hold on. That's it.
Ridiculous. You're ridiculous. Well, the police indicate he was injured.
Where are the pictures you were injured?
The police indicate on the police report where he had scratches on his shoulder.
Those are called
And
stretch
his-
marks,
and
not
his-
scratches.
Excuse me?
Stretch marks.
Scratches.
Scratches.
She was strangling me.
I was not.
No.
That's why she got arrested. She's crazy.
That part of your complaint, Ms. Garcia, where you're asking for compensation for falsely reporting that you assaulted him, that's denied. You're entitled to your truck money back. Period. And once you get your truck money back...
If it was work for the DA to pick up, they would have picked it up, and that would have been... They wouldn't have rejected the case how they did. There was no case
Because I didn't press
on
no
him
charges.
to me.
I didn't press no charges.
If I hurt you so bad, why didn't you push charges on
Ms.
me?
Garcia...
Not even worth it.
Now I'm responding to you. Your case is dismissed. It's over for everything except the $2,500 that you put as a down payment for a truck that he now has. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Good. Thank you very much. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He left me with a bunch of bills. He was a freeloader.
I think it was fair. I got justice, and I just wanted to stay out my life.
He snatched the keys out of my hands, and my son's stuff is in there, and I'm going to protect it to the fullest.
She jumped on me, started choking me. She wouldn't let go of my T-shirt.
If he would not buy a $5 T-shirt, it would have never ripped.
She's crazy.
I should have realized it a long time ago, but you know what? They say love is blind.
Don't get involved with crazy females.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Miller versus Miller, step forward.
19-year-old Ashley Miller is suing her aunt, Shauna Miller, for repossessing her car. Shauna claims Ashley didn't abide by the terms of their agreement.
Okay, very complicated story. Let me see if I can simplify it because it's getting late in the afternoon and I'm getting a little tired. This is your aunt.
Yes, ma'am.
Who did a very nice thing for you several months ago.
Yes, ma'am.
And agreed to purchase a car. She was primarily responsible on the loan. You were a co-signer on the loan because you didn't have good credit.
Yes, ma'am.
You went shopping. You put $1,000 of your hard-earned money down on the car.
Yes, ma'am.
And you gave your aunt $1,000 towards insurance.
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of car did you buy?
It was a 2007 Hyundai Accent.
And it was brand new?
Yes. Only had 5 miles on it.
And when did you purchase it?
February 8th.
And the understanding was that you were going to make the payments on the car and eventually, hopefully, get the loan out of your aunt's name because she didn't want to be responsible for this thing. And you were going to take care of the car, and there were certain things that you were supposed to be responsible with.
Yes, ma'am, after 6 months.
And your aunt took the car back after 2 months.
Correct.
You want the money that you invested in the car, and you want $600 back for the insurance that wasn't used because she took the car back. So you want back $1,600. Your aunt says that you were irresponsible with the car. In the 2 months that you had the car, you put on how many miles?
3,400.
3,400 miles. Where did you go for 3,400 miles?
Well, I went back and forth to work, and I did go over to my friend's house. I went over to their house because they asked me to come visit them every day. So I tried. I went back and forth to school every day after work because I go to school 4 days a week.
Where do you work?
Unforgettable Security.
In what country?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Show me it written down someplace that you had a mileage agreement with her.
It was a verbal agreement.
Baloney.
Just like the part with the
Baloney.
insurance.
Don't speak to me anymore.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Ashley Miller says her aunt, Shauna Miller, repossessed her car for no good reason. Shauna is countersuing for car repair costs and excess miles on the vehicle.
Now, did you loan the car to anyone?
No, ma'am.
Did you make any long trips?
I did one long trip, and that was to West Virginia.
From where?
From my house.
Which is where?
Maryland.
Who did you go with?
I went with my 2 sisters because they were up here visiting from Florida.
Did they ever drive your car?
No, ma'am.
Was there any damage to the car?
No, ma'am, not when I had it.
When did you take the car back, Miss Miller?
May 4th.
So she had the car 3 months?
Close to, yes.
Why did you take the car back?
Well, one of the agreements was that she was to stay in touch with us. She was not to have anybody in the car. She was on our insurance because the insurance was in excess to what she could afford. So we turned around.
Just a minute. Did
Okay.
you have an agreement with her that there wasn't to be anyone else in the car?
Prior to signing of anything, yes. I've had the same agreements. I've got my daughter here, Sherry, who is under the same agreement with a car that we have. And also with my other children. I have a 30-year-old son and a 28-year-old daughter. I've done it with all of them. You know, with the same agreements. I know, good heart, but you know what? It builds character and shows them responsibility. And yeah, I've been batting.
Do you have an agreement with your aunt not to have anyone else in the car?
No, ma'am.
What was the discussion that you had with regard to having other people in the car?
No, ma'am. The only agreement that we had with the car was not to let anybody drive the car and to make sure I make the payments on the car, and that was it.
Not to let anybody else drive it?
Yes, to drive it. That was it.
I believe you.
That was it.
I believe you.
Thank you.
I believe her. Because I think it's ridiculous to have an agreement that nobody else can be in the car.
Well, okay.
I believe that you made an agreement with her that nobody else was to drive the car.
Well, actually, well, okay.
But not be in the car. That sounds unreasonable for somebody who's making payments on the car, who's given you the down payment and paid for the insurance. The insurance may not cover anybody else driving the car,
right?
But certainly being a passenger in the car. Why not? Keep going. So, she didn't keep in touch with you, and?
She didn't keep in touch, and when I tried to call her, she was avoiding the calls. I had to go through my father-in-law to call her to call back. My husband and I went up to her place of employment to where we looked at the car. There was dents, 4 of them, going down this way, not like a car had opened and hit it. The dents were going this way. And
you have pictures of the dents?
Oh, I do, yes.
I'd like to see the dents that you're talking about.
This is the car. Dents. I've got an estimate also.
No, I don't need an estimate.
Okay, that's it.
Those are dings. There's a ding. It's a ding. It's nothing. You had no right to take the car back.
Okay.
So your counterclaim's dismissed because you're counterclaiming. You say you're now stuck with a car.
Hold on, Your Honor.
I didn't ask you anything. You're now stuck with a car that has 3,400 miles on it. It's depreciated. Well, you know, as soon as you drive a car out of a lot, it depreciates. But as long as she was making the payments, was she?
Yes, she was.
And she paid for the insurance?
Yes, she did.
The car looks perfectly good shape to me. It may have a couple of dings on it. That's unfortunate. But that doesn't look as if it's been in an accident. You had no mileage requirements. You have no basis to take the car back. Yes?
We did have mileage requirements, and the reason why she wasn't allowed to...
No, you didn't.
Yes, we did. We made an agreement with her.
Show me it written down someplace that you had a mileage agreement with her.
It was to keep the value of the car up.
Show me where you have an agreement with her that you have a mileage agreement.
It was a verbal agreement.
Baloney.
Just like the part with the
Baloney.
insurance.
Baloney.
Until she got it in her own name or her own insurance, she
Baloney. You
wasn't
had no
supposed to have
reason to
anybody
take the
in
car.
it.
Don't speak to me anymore. You had no reason to take the car back.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Are you in a family dispute? Go to judgejudy.com or call 1-888-800-JUDY.
Okay. Unfortunately, Miss Miller, you did a very nice thing for your niece.
I thought so.
You probably had second thoughts about it, but you didn't have a basis to breach the agreement and take the car back. And she's entitled to her money, or you give her the car back. What's your pleasure?
Can I say something real quick? She assured me that no drinking, no partying, and everything else, and she was drinking, and she was partying, but, you know...
Well, show me proof that she was drinking in the car.
Oh, I can't show you
drinking
proof.
and driving.
No.
So?
Okay.
That's what you need. You need proof. Put your hand down. That's what you need. You need proof.
Okay.
Where's the car now?
In my yard.
You want your car back?
Can I speak?
Yes.
The whole drinking thing has nothing to do with it because I didn't do it when I was driving. And the car they gave to her daughter after they took the car from me. After like a week went by and they called me and told me, asked me if I want the car back. And I said no because they already took the car. And after that, I felt like, you know, since they took it from me once, they would do it again.
Did you get another car?
No.
How many miles are on the car now?
There's quite a bit.
What do you mean quite a bit? There was 3,400 miles when you took it. How many miles are on the car
I
now?
drove it back and forth to work myself. And my daughter's driving. Okay.
You owe her $1,600. You had no basis to take the car back.
Can I get her to sign off on this title, or how do I have to?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. You can get her to sign off on the title as soon as you get the bank to release her from the loan. Why would I have her sign the title off until you can get her off on the loan?
Okay, I can, yes.
Okay, so we'll cut an order that as soon as you get her off on the loan, she's going to sign off on the title, right?
Yes,
you don't want
ma'am.
the title in your name?
Nope, ma'am.
Very good. Judgment for the plaintiff, the amount of $1,600. Thank you.
Parties are excused. Step up on the calendar in the matter of Lewis versus Yao Mangrobang. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Let's see.
Miss Lewis, I gather it was Miss Mangrobang who was your roommate in school. Is that right?
That is right, Your Honor.
And Mr. Yao is her boyfriend.
Yes, ma'am.
According to your complaint, they asked if they could borrow your car, use your car. You weren't using it because it didn't have insurance.
Yes, ma'am.
It's an old car.
It's a 1992 Chevrolet Lumina.
And it had about 166,000 miles on it. Is that
which
right?
is not uncommon for a car of
Just
that
answer
age.
my question.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you told them that they could use the car as long as they insured it. They used it, and it is your claim that they ran it into the ground by not taking proper care of it, and you want to be compensated. In addition, you claim that when you complained, there was some interaction between the two of you. Miss Mangrobang said that she wanted to move out of the dorm, blamed you for causing her some discomfort, which caused you to be investigated by the university, because that's where you know each other from. So you want compensation for that because you feel as if she damaged your reputation. Ms. Mangrobang and Mr. Yao say that you have embarked upon a campaign of harassing them, and they are counterclaiming.
That's correct.
All right, Ms. Lewis, on what date did you loan them the car?
I loaned them the car, and they began their insurance on it on October 10th.
Okay, when did you get the car back?
We had agreed that they would return the car on December 12th. However, they were refusing to return my property in a timely manner, and so...
Just a minute. Just answer. Let me run the shop.
Okay.
They were supposed to return it on 12/12. What date did they return it?
We confiscated it back on the 12th, the night of the 12th.
And what happened on the 13th?
Well, the night of the 12th, they drove off as soon as we came to claim the car. And as soon as I put my key in the ignition, you could hear this loud ticking noise as well as a grinding noise. and I tried to call them, and Rufan was not answering my cell phone call. I called Melanie, and I told her, please meet us back at the university. That's where I'm taking the car right now. We need to talk about this. And Scott and I stayed up until about 2:30 in the morning waiting for them, and they never showed.
Okay. What happened to her car?
Well, first of all, the car's condition...
Don't give me first of all.
Right.
What happened to her car? You drove it from October 10th and had it in your possession up until the 12th of December.
Right.
So I'm asking you, when did you start to have trouble with the car? Mechanically?
Mechanically, probably about 2-3 days before I returned the car to them.
Now, when you say you returned the car to them, was the car returned to them in the way that Miss Lewis has described?
She did pick up the car from my workplace.
So it was when she picked up the car. You started to have trouble with it 2 or 3 days before?
Right.
When did you call her and tell her that you were having trouble
The
with the
day
car?
that the car started having problems.
Well, what did you say to her?
I told her that the car's grinding noise, which I originally had when I borrowed the car, is getting a little bit louder, and that the engine isn't as powerful as it used to be.
Did you ever take the car in to be fixed, to be looked at by a mechanic?
No.
Why not?
At the time, I didn't have the time to go in because I worked every day.
Well, that's your responsibility, though. If you borrow somebody's property, you're supposed to take good care of it. If it starts to have a noise that it didn't have before, or the noise starts to get worse, then you're supposed to take the car in and be responsible with it. Take it to a mechanic.
Because the car already had the noise and the grinding sound, so that I figured it was the original problem. It was getting a little bit worse. And I used to have a car that sort of had a similar problem, and it was easily fixed, so I figured it was the same problem. I could have taken it over the weekend.
That's a nice excuse, sir. What I'm telling you is, you borrowed this car, it was an old car, it had problems. There's no question about it that the car probably made a whole bunch of noises. But what you're telling me is that the car started to get worse.
Right.
And what you did was continue to drive it, hearing the noise getting a little bit louder and a little bit louder and a little bit louder, and you knew you had to return it back on December 12th anyway, so you didn't take it in to have it fixed, and that's irresponsible. Very irresponsible when you borrow somebody else's property. You got me?
Right.
Good.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I would suggest, Miss Mangrobang, that you think twice before hitching your star to his wagon. If that's the way he treats property, just think how he's going to treat your heart.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Nicolette Lewis says ex-roommate Melanie Mangrobang and her boyfriend, Rufan Yao, owe for damaging her car. Nicolette claims Rufan borrowed the vehicle and ran it into the ground.
You have a tape there you want to show me? And are you dying to, what is it a tape of?
This is a tape of the engine and the inside of the car upon its return, or when we got it back.
What did it look like before? You have a picture of the before?
It's a tape recording of the engine itself, so you can hear the noises that were not present before.
You just said to me that it also contains the interior of the car.
Well, just the fact that he had kept it a mess. He wasn't.
Well, I don't know what it looked like before.
Oh.
That's what I asked you.
Sorry.
Pay attention. I said, do you have pictures of what the car looked like before?
No, I do not.
Well, you want to tell me what it looked like before.
The interior of the car was fine. It wasn't vacuumed when I gave it to him, but there wasn't any trash laying around, and there weren't any spills or stains or burn marks.
Let me see.
That just showing his general maintenance of the interior of the car. This is actually how we received the car back. This is just another shot.
Is that the sound you were hearing, Mr. Yao?
That's correct.
This is lengthening fun out of Goodwill to be completely ruined the car.
What?
First of all, I'd like to add that I wasn't the only one driving the car during that period. In fact, Ms. Lewis and her boyfriend drove it for about a week, and since...
When?
It was in October.
In October? Okay. Listen to me, Mr. Yao. You did not get the car making that noise because you wouldn't have taken a car that was making that noise. And once you heard that sound starting to escalate, It was your responsibility to either call her immediately and say, I'm returning it, or take it in and have it fixed. You didn't do that. You are responsible. Now, you want to tell me about the rest of your lawsuit with regard to bad name being bantied about the dormitory?
Yes, actually, the first words out of my mouth when I heard the sound in my car when I called Melanie the night of the 12th was, Melanie, I love you, you're family. She's actually my second cousin, and I told her I don't want this to affect our relationship, but I have a problem with your boyfriend. In fact, I have a transcript of one of our conversations between myself and Mr. Yao, in which he says, take it to court, I don't care, you still won't get a penny. And I was asking Melanie how she would let her boyfriend treat her family with such disrespect. And there was a little bit of tension.
That's a good question. You want to answer that question?
I didn't know we were family until December, I think Thanksgiving. No, she had called me during Thanksgiving saying, I'm staying with my aunt in California, and I showed her a picture, and I mentioned that your last name was Mangrobang, and her aunt said, oh, we're related to the Mangrobangs, and that's all.
What difference does it make? You were roommates.
Yes.
You mean you can treat family one way, but you treat non-family dishonorably?
No, I never treated her dishonorably.
She did. Why?
Well, the thing I have to address is that what she said is only after what I've tried to work out with her. I originally did agree to help her fix the car when they said, okay, they'll try to fix it. And then later on, they said after her boyfriend worked on the car, and the car entirely stopped working at all.
That car sounds like it's on its last leg. That car doesn't have any more life in it.
The car was driving, and I got to places.
Listen to me. You're not supposed to use somebody else's property to the point where it is gasping for its last breath. What you're supposed to do if someone has entrusted you with their property is treat it better than you would treat your own. That's what you do.
And actually I did.
No, you didn't, sir, because that car was not treated better than your own. And if that's the way you treat your property, I would suggest, Miss Mangrobang, that you think twice before hitching your star to his wagon. Do you understand? Mm-hmm. If that's the way he treats property, just think how he's going to treat your heart. Now, you want to get on with the story about your name and the dorm? Come on. Okay. She made a complaint. She wanted to move out of the dorm. She said that you were bothering her. Is that what happened?
Well, actually, I hadn't heard from Melanie in a few days.
Listen, get to the bottom line. Is that what happened? And then you had to go before a hearing board.
Yes.
Okay. And they found you not guilty of bothering her.
They said that this is an issue for the court, and they wanted to see how the court case comes on. But they said that if, in fact, I am found guilty of harassment, then they sat me down and went through all the procedures and what would happen if I was found for harassment. And
you didn't harass her?
I did not.
No, you didn't harass her. I don't think she harassed you. Did she harass you?
She just made it very uncomfortable to live with her.
Listen, you're very uncomfortable. You can get very uncomfortable if your underpants are too tight. Mm-hmm. Do you understand? That doesn't mean you file a complaint. You're a big girl. Sometimes you'll have a roommate that makes you comfortable. Sometimes you have a roommate that makes you uncomfortable. That doesn't mean that you file a complaint. Do you understand?
But, Your Honor, if her boyfriend, and I believe she was also in it, also threatened to kill me
Just a
personally.
second. Just a second. Not she. Boyfriend and father, according to you.
Well, she was also with him at the time, and I believe...
You cannot impugn to her actions of other people. She did not threaten to kill you. All she did was make your girlfriend, according to your girlfriend, uncomfortable, like a pair of 5 underpants when you're a 7.
Your Honor, I'm on a full honor scholarship at the university, and included in the scholarship is a room grant. And if I were to be found guilty of harassment, which I believe she claimed to get out of the room maliciously and without cause.
Okay, you made her uncomfortable.
Because I made her uncomfortable.
You made her uncomfortable.
And
she has a low threshold of pain.
I believe she maliciously filed that for the university to try to embarrass me and try to jeopardize.
I don't think she did that. Okay. I don't think she did that.
Your Honor, I don't think a note that says you mailed
just a second
would say that.
Yes.
I mean, it wouldn't mean that she is not harassing.
She's annoying her. She's uncomfortable.
And also
pay careful attention to me, sir. Your girlfriend said to her, my boyfriend really needs a car. He's got to get to and from work. She had a car. She didn't charge you any money, did she?
No.
No, she was really nice to you. Why would somebody who's all of a sudden so nice to you let you take her car so that you could get to and from work all of a sudden become a monster? You think she drank some sort of a potion? No. You know what happened? You were disrespectful with her property. You treated it like crap, and she got annoyed. And when you refused to step up to the plate and take responsibility for not treating her property, I'm speaking. She may be afraid of you, I'm not. When you refused to step up to the plate, she got irritated. And she got irritated with you, and she got irritated with her roommate, who came to her and said, could my boyfriend please borrow your car because he did. And she said yes. And then she didn't say to you, listen, Yao, you didn't treat my friend's car properly. You're going to have to help pay for it. She was disappointed.
Well,
so she wrote a nasty note. What do you want to say now?
Well, first of all, I did try to step up to the plate and try to make amends.
What did you do?
I offered to help fix the car. And then when her boyfriend took the car apart and said it's totaled and it can't be fixed, I told her to write up a list of what you want in your next car. And we'll work something out, and I'll try to find a car to that specification for you, and which I believe is reasonable because...
That's more than reasonable.
And
so you were going to buy her another car?
I was saving up money to buy myself a car. That's why I had all the car magazines.
So you were going to buy her another car?
Right, with the money.
What?
He was going to buy himself a car, and he said that if I wanted, that I could write up a notarized list of everything that I wanted in a car. And if I would notarize a list saying if he buys this, that I will dismiss any claims. And I said, oh, wow, so you're going to get me a new car. Great, that's what I need. He goes, yeah, and then afterward, we can compromise and figure out who owes how much of the car. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, well, I'm only going to pay what I feel responsible for. I'm like, well, how much are you thinking of doing? He's like, I don't know, we'll have to see. And so that sounds like he's trying to catch me in a trap again. And I went to Melanie, I said, how much is he going to put down? She's like, maybe like 100, possibly 2.
Well, $100, $200 is not going to buy her a set of wheels.
Your Honor, actually, I just found this car on the internet. It's the exact same car. It's actually in better condition. It has bumpers, rear view mirrors, $350.
Can I speak?
Can I see the... No, I don't want to hear you.
I believe that the issue with the car is that...
I would also like to see the Kelly Blue Book, please.
When we saw the damage to the car, when we figured what it might have been, we said, hey, will you sponsor the cost of the parts if my boyfriend will do the labor, because he has worked as a mechanic before. And we estimated that if it was a problem with the oil pump, it would cost maybe $45 for a part and about half an hour of labor. But however, when he refused to tell me that the car was damaged in the beginning and he didn't park it, it caused the oil pump to blow, the camshaft, the lifters, the rockers, everything in the top end was gone, and you have to replace the entire motor, and I have an estimate for that, which would have costed about $4,039 to repair the car.
Your car's not worth more than $1,000.
Yeah, so
Listen to me.
I'm not
your car's not worth more than $1,000. This car, the Kelly Blue Book, is for $2,000 with 100,000 miles on it. Your car had almost 170,000 miles on it. Now, your case hasn't been resolved yet, has it, with the university?
They haven't pressed anything against me so far.
And they won't. Are you still in the dorm?
Yes, I am.
Wonderful. Very good. Take $1,000, go buy yourself a new car. Now, let's get to your counterclaim. You want to tell me very, very quickly what it is that you claim she did to you to harass you?
She just said a lot of things that made me not too happy living with her, like about my boyfriend, about the car situation, and like when we're watching television or something, and like, oh, there's Joe Millionaire, you know what that reminds me of? Oh, yeah, it reminds me of you, your boyfriend, like how those girls think that, you know, they're going to get this really nice guy and they're going to actually...
She told me she thinks he's going to be the next Bill Gates.
And then, like when we watch TV or something, she'd constantly like say random like comments about my boyfriend and about this car situation when I wasn't involved. The original agreement was between her and my boyfriend.
Let me ask you this question, madam.
Yes.
You don't get compensated for being uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. All right? Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. There's absolutely no case for harassment. The other thing that I have to ask you is, do you think that but for the fact that he was your boyfriend, she would have loaned him the car?
I don't think so, since they didn't know each other.
Right. So when you say you had nothing to do with the arrangement because it was just between the two of them, how can you say that? The only reason she got involved with this whole situation is because of you. They didn't know each other. So you were involved.
Oh, but the agreement about the payment and stuff and driving it.
They didn't know each other. She was doing you a favor. Do you understand? Good. And you did the wrong thing. In any event, I'm issuing a judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,000, and I'm dismissing your counterclaim. That's all.
Number 28 on the calendar in the matter of Arthur versus Gendron. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Miss Arthur, the defendant is a former boyfriend of yours. He lived in an apartment with you that you shared with someone else, another woman.
My sister, Sadie.
And the two of you were on a lease, but he was living there.
Right, and he's listed as an applicant on the... I have that.
Your complaint is twofold. You say that Mr. Gendron has a very, very bad temper.
Yes.
And when you had arguments, he took out his frustrations by putting a series of holes in the walls of the apartment, right through the plasterboard.
And then telling me I was lucky I was not the walls.
Well, you were.
Yeah.
And the second claim is that he damaged your car during another fit of his temper. Now, with regard to the car damage, the defendant says that he did cause some damage to the car, to the windshield, but that he paid for it because he gave you $100. He was charged for that. So, when did you two lovebirds take up residency together?
October of 2000 is when we moved into the apartment. We had priorly lived together at other places for 4 years.
Really? Did he make holes there too?
At a friend of ours, Daryl's, yes, he did.
He did? Didn't that give you a clue?
Yeah. It's, I don't know, you live and learn, maybe. I'm doing better now.
You lived and learned for a long time. You lived together for 4 years? You made holes?
Your Honor, I think she likes the drama, personally. She's one for drama. She's a drama queen. She's just a big drama queen. She likes it.
Enjoy this. Did you hear what I said? I said I'm going to enjoy this.
Okay. Have a good time.
Thank you. I wasn't speaking to you.
I'm sorry.
Now, you moved in October of 2000. When did he start making holes, Miss Arthur?
Right after Christmas, he punched the first hole in the wall.
Which room?
The living room.
Tell me about that.
It was just a fight over me coming in late, going out, and he doesn't like that if I'm going to go out and not with my friends and not bring him. And he got mad, punched a hole in that wall. Then he went into the dining room and took a broom and like punched holes into where the washing machine was in that area. And then we fought so much, the holes were punched over anything. One night I came home from going out with my friends. I got in the bed to go to sleep, and he had poured water on my side of the bed. So I got up to argue with him about that, and then he punched about 5 or 6 holes in our room.
When did he finally leave?
We moved out in June. We were still together then.
You were? Really?
Yeah. And I was hoping that he would try to compensate and pay me.
Something I didn't do, I don't think so.
So you didn't make any of these holes?
No, I did. And she can, like, what happened, the holes that I did, we bought plaster. She had bought the plaster to fix it or whatever. And did you or did you not? She bought it. I fixed the holes that I did. I move out. I move out, go to his house, come back. The whole place, the apartment building was a place to party. I mean, that's just how it was. Everyone in there partied. She had people, you know what I'm saying? Like, everyone had people over. When I come back, the place is trashed. When we move the carpet, there's a big square of where there's just crap everywhere except for where the carpet was. That's why I threw the carpet down first, because I knew there was going to be a lot of traffic. She paid for the plaster and stuff for me to fix the holes. She was like, look, you got to fix this. So I'm like, cool, buy the stuff.
Could I please see the landlord's estimate of how much it will cost to fix that?
When he moved out, there was only 1 hole in the wall. So he's telling a lie right now.
When he moved out, there was 1 hole?
1 hole. He said when he came back that there was all kinds of holes and it was damaged. That's a lie. Because I kicked him out after he punched 1 hole in the wall. Then he came back and punched the rest of them.
But he lived there?
Yes.
But he lived there. You took him back?
Yeah.
You took him back?
Yeah.
Oh, you paid for half the holes. You want to know why? Because quite frankly, I don't understand why a young woman like you, who had 4 years experience with his bad temper, and saw that he was continuing that bad temper when you moved in someplace else, would continue to tolerate that kind of behavior unless you enjoyed the fighting and making up. I'm not so sure. But you got to smarten up. $875 to paint and repair the walls. $437.50. You pay for half. Now,
can I ask you one other question?
Sure.
Shouldn't he be held responsible for a third of the rest of the damages since he lived there as
Yeah,
well?
but when she moved, her sister moved out, she left all of her crap in her room. Left everything. I mean, just left all kinds of crap for me to pick up, for us to take care of.
I left the bed, and that was
The
it.
bed,
Me and him
your
were the ones
dresser.
that
Just a
resided
second.
there.
Paint and replace and repair doors.
That he ripped off.
Did you rip off any doors?
There was a broken door.
Did you rip off any doors?
I ripped it off. It was busted. When we
And what did you do with it?
We threw it in the dumpster.
So you pulled the rest off?
No, it fell off. It was broke. Why don't we find out who really broke the door? T, who lived upstairs, who you told me T broke the door.
Install carpet.
Oh, okay, you're right.
I forget it.
I just don't see why he was a resident there. He shouldn't be held responsible for a third of it like everyone else.
Because he was stupid enough to let him move in. That's why. You're irritating me, Miss Arthur.
I'm sorry.
I mean, I don't... What do you do for a living?
I'm a server. And I go to school.
So you're trying to make something of yourself?
Yeah, I'm trying
And
to.
what do you do?
I've been working in Massachusetts. I moved back in at home. I do construction with my father, but I don't anymore. I moved back out.
So what do you do?
Right now, nothing. I'm chilling for the summer. I'm going back to school in fall.
How old
I
are
go
you?
to school in the fall.
How old are you?
22.
22. And how do you get spending money?
I have spending money. I have saved up money. I have a bank. I have my own account.
I'm asking you, how do you get spending money, Mr. Jedrin?
I just told you I worked construction.
No.
I have proof of all that.
That's not how you get your spending money now.
Right now,
You know,
I have.
you know how smart I am? I'm really, really smart, Mr. Gendron.
I know.
You know that I'm really smart? And do you know that I know how you get your spending money?
What's that?
You know, and you know that I know how you get your spending money.
I used to be
Maybe you're in sales, sir. Huh?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Lindsay Arthur claims ex-boyfriend Brock Gendron broke her windshield and used his own blood to write curse words on her car.
You his roommate?
No, I wasn't his roommate.
Are you his roommate now?
He's staying at my house right now.
Staying at your house now?
Actually, it's my dad's house. It's not actually my house.
Dad lives there too?
Yeah, it's me, my grandfather, my brother, and me.
Interesting. Very interesting. Okay, let's get to the windshield in 01. You were driving in the car, you had a fight, and he broke the windshield.
Yes,
Is that right?
I called the police because he took my keys from me and would not let me leave. When I came back the next morning, he had beat the crap out of my car, put a beer bottle on it, cut his hand, pardon my language, and wrote "you" in blood on the hood.
So you were still together?
I mean, not together, but we would see each other occasionally. We were on again, off again. I thought I could go pick him up, we could go to a party, we could hang out, have a good time. He flips out at the party, acts all crazy.
Because her friend tried to say
Listen to me.
Sorry.
You know, I was trying to help him. He has a problem. He needed help. He still needs help for the problem.
That's problem. Well, for what kind of problem does he have?
He has a heroin problem.
Yeah. Do tell. That doesn't
Better
come
than
as
my
a
mom having a crank problem.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
Well, that's why I was trying to help him.
I went to rehab.
I tried. That's why he had these binges. He put all these holes in my wall. I was trying to help him.
You don't stay with that.
I know that now.
All right. So his father gave you $100 to bust the windshield out. Father gave you $100 if you didn't pursue the case. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
So now what do you want?
He broke the turn signal switch off of the car to where my windshield wipers are constantly working, and I'd like to get that fixed. And I've got just an estimate for that and an estimate for the labor of putting in the windshield.
Why did you take? Why did you? Hey, try to control yourself.
Sorry.
I know that several people may be operating in your brain this morning, but I want you to try to control the person who's here. Why did you accept $100 from his father?
Because he was moving to Massachusetts to try to go to a rehab program to get his life straight.
Which I did.
Yeah, right.
You accepted $100 for the damage.
For the windshield.
You accepted $100 for the damage.
Okay.
He owes you for putting half the holes in the wall, $437.50. And unfortunately for you, Miss Arthur, I'm not sure it's over. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $437.50. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It's hard to put up with someone who has a drug problem.
The whole situation of her bringing up stuff that had nothing to do with the case, that's just like her because, like I said, she's a drama queen.
He's the drama queen. He's the one punching holes in the wall and sticking needles in his arms.
I move out, come back in, place is trash. What can I say?
When we did kick him out, he would come around the apartment.
He wouldn't go
beat on the
away. He would
windows.
never leave.
He tagged our windows with a permanent marker. Dude is crazy.
Yeah.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Alonzo versus Campbell. Step forward, please.
Nurse practitioner Erin Alonso is suing former client and spa owner Sandy Campbell for the unpaid balance on a Botox injection. Sandy says the procedure was supposed to be a freebie.
Miss Alonso, it is your claim that the defendant owes you $500 for a series of Botox injections that you gave her.
Right.
The defendant says that she owes you nothing, that this was a free trial.
Right.
So, for Bird's edification, we're going to discuss what Botox is.
Thank you.
He knows. You don't know, do you?
I have no idea.
Well, let me tell you what little I know of Botox injections, secondhand, of course. Botox injections is something that some ladies, and I'm sure some men, take, where a medical professional injects in your lines, if you have them. Botulism, right?
That's that stuff that makes you sick.
Right, that's the stuff that makes you sick. It may make you sick in your tummy, but it doesn't make you sick in your lines. So what happens is that this botulism poison kills your nerve, or deadens your nerve, or stings it, and it relaxes, and then your lines go away. Now, is that the short form of what Botox is?
That's it.
Oh, okay. Now you got it?
No, I don't got it, and I don't want it.
You got it? So you tell me how it came to pass that you gave the defendant a series of Botox injections.
Okay. I work in collaboration with a plastic surgeon, and we started going out and doing it mobily. So I'm constantly looking for new salons and spas to increase my clientele, and that's what brought me to call Sandra Campbell.
So that clients of the defendant would use your service.
That's right.
Okay. Go ahead.
So we talked about it. She was interested in bringing me into the salon, and I left it at that. I said, okay, great. I was going to fax over to her my price list. Then later in the week, Jeannie called me up and said that they wanted to try Botox. And so I said, okay, fine. So I said, you know, we set up a date and a time of when they wanted me to come in and do it. And I showed up there, and I did it. And I injected both of them. Jeannie paid me like normal clients do. And after I injected Sandra, she was upset. And like all of a sudden was like, what do you mean, you know, that you're going to charge me? And I said, well, of course I'm going to charge you. You don't make an appointment with somebody and not have something be free unless you've discussed it, you know, maybe before that. And Botox is very expensive, and there's no way. I mean, my mother barely gets free Botox, so.
Tell me your short version of the same events.
I own a day spa in Lakewood, and Jeannie came to me with a newspaper ad that Erin had put in the paper, and Jeannie said, you know, everybody's doing this. Maybe we should try to offer it in the salon. I said, well, I don't know. We'll think about it. And so Jeannie contacted Erin, and she came in, and we did discuss her prices. So then I was going to put 2 ads in the paper that totaled $402. And then 2 weeks went into it, and Jeannie contacted her because Jeannie keeps saying, we kind of need to have a sample of it for clients to see. So then Erin came in. It was set up, and she came in.
Who called her?
Jeannie did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Step up, Jeannie. What's your last name?
Mewis.
Would you tell me what your conversation was with the plaintiff when she called?
I called Erin and I said, we'd like to see what your service is all about so we can, because all of our clients said, you know, you do
wanted
it first.
a freebie.
Pardon me?
You wanted a freebie. Sure you did. But that's okay.
Well, that's the way it works
But that's
in this
okay.
business. That's the way it
Listen,
works.
I understand. That's okay.
That's the way it works.
You wanted to sell.
We want to
she
see
wanted
what
to
she
go
does.
in there. You felt that there was going to be a free trial for the two of you.
Mm-hmm.
You said, come on in. I'm going to spend the money to put out an ad in the paper, a couple of $100. And for that, I will at least get us some botulism poison put in my face. Anyway, then she came in. Now, according to Miss Alonso, you paid her. Could you tell me why you paid her?
I was intimidated. I did not believe. I told her I would pay her for my lips. That's what I thought I would be paying for. The Botox, what we talked about, I was assuming that was going to be a trial. So I thought it would be $350. I didn't have a problem paying for my lips.
But then you paid much more than $350.
Right, it was $750.
I have a couple of other questions. Miss Alonso, did you discuss with the defendant how much her treatment would be before you did it?
I did in fax. I faxed them over my price sheet.
No,
and
your price sheet, Miss Alonso, that you faxed them over is for other customers. And let's understand this. If you are going into business with someone, I'm not stupid, you wouldn't charge her the same thing as you would charge somebody else, especially if you're trying to get her business.
Well,
so that when I ask you whether or not you discussed with the defendant what the cost would be to her before you gave her the first shot, that's the answer that I want. Did you or did you not?
I did not. What had happened was that when I had gone in there, we hadn't even started doing business together yet. And I want to just clarify one thing, though.
Just a second. Clarify in a second. When you did Miss Campbell, had you already done the witness?
Yes.
When you did the witness, she said to you she didn't think there would be a charge for certain things. Is that right?
She never said that.
You just told her how much it was and she paid you.
Well, what had happened was, I mean, this is a very expensive medication that nobody...
Just follow my question. Did she say to you, I thought this was going to be a trial, or at least part of it was going to be a trial?
No, she didn't.
You just told her how much it was and she paid you?
Right.
Is that right?
No.
No. Of course it isn't right.
I was shocked. It was a lot of money.
Step up and tell me what you said to her.
I said I thought this was going to be a trial, and I'll more than gladly pay for my lips. That's what I thought it was going to be. The Botox was what we discussed.
Okay, and she said?
$750. I did this, $750.
Okay, sit down. That's what happened, Miss Alonso. She did question the amount, and you went over each procedure, and she paid you.
Right.
But she questioned it. So it would seem to me, Miss Alonso, that before you did Miss Campbell's work, you would have said to her, I want to make sure we understand each other. There is no free trial. I'm here. This is strictly business. You are just another client as far as this service is concerned. Not perform a service for $500 without having previously discussed the amount with anybody.
I usually always discuss the amount with everybody that I did, but because I had faxed it over to them and because she had said that, you know, that she trades and stuff like that, but I'm not in the beauty industry that they're in. This is medicine.
Listen.
It's not the same.
You don't fax over a list of prices to someone that you are going to be doing business with and expect them to assume that the prices you faxed over for strangers who walked in the door was what you were going to charge them if you were going to charge them anything. So you discuss with them what your service will be. I'm looking at your face. I think you should have something here, 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 here. It'll be $500. Shall I go ahead with it?
Right, I understand
that.
that.
Good. Your case is dismissed. That's all.
Cummings versus Carey. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Miss Cummings, according to your complaint, you were running a pageant, Miss Trinidad and Tobago pageant.
Indeed.
That was supposed to take place in New York City on the 16th of September.
Yes.
And you hired the defendant to make dresses for some of the contestants.
Yes.
The pageant had to be postponed because of the attack on the World Trade Center on the 11th of September. And when it was ultimately rescheduled for what date?
October 21st.
On that date, the defendant did not deliver the dresses,
Indeed.
either on that date or before. And you are suing him for the return of the deposits that you paid to him and some punitive damages.
Indeed.
The defendant says that he tried to fulfill his obligations, but at the time that the pageant was rescheduled, he did have other obligations. And he is countersuing because he says that as a result of your actions, by broadcasting either by the internet or by contacting his clients, he suffered damage to his business. That's your counterclaim.
Yes.
How much did you pay him as in for deposits for the dresses?
$2,100.
Is that correct, Mr. Carey?
Yes.
And when were the dresses ordered?
The dresses were ordered on the 29th of July when he came to my rehearsal and he measured the contestants.
Did he deliver any dresses to you completely?
He delivered one dress on August 11th when he brought the initial dresses to be fit. That dress was paid for in full, $600 cash he received on that dress.
And the $2,100 deposit was for all the dresses?
It's 15 opening dresses and 4 gowns.
Now, the pageant was supposed to take place on the 16th of September. Mr. Carey, I would assume from the 29th of July until the 16th of September, you had actually completed all the dresses.
Yes.
Since the pageant was postponed to a later date, so you had more time,
yes.
Why couldn't you, if the dresses were complete, just put the dresses in overnight boxes and send them to the plaintiff?
Because they had to be fitted. And there were, like when I went there before, she made changes on them. two of them were actually complete. She made me take them back and do more changes. One of the girls who they had given me instructions to do her dress, I did the dress as I thought Mrs. Cummings told me to do it. When I got there, it wasn't what the girl wanted, so I had to take that one back.
Okay,
so,
but you did all of that work well before September 16th.
But I still had to get approval through her. We had no final approval on anything.
Well, what efforts did you make to contact him?
Your Honor, we made about 50 telephone calls to Mr. Carey. Every time we called him, he said first, because of the World Trade Center, security is tight, he can't come to New York. Then he was on the...
Where do you live, sir?
Washington, D.C.
Then he was on the Amtrak. He couldn't get on the Amtrak with the dresses. Collectively, we have over 50 calls to him. Every time we called him, the dresses were done. They were complete. We even made arrangements to go and pick him up. He told us, don't come for him. He has a wedding. We also made arrangements to house him in New York. He said, don't worry. On the day of the pageant, before I left for the show, he calls me on the telephone. He says, Renee, I am on my way. I have your gowns. I have everything. What I had to do the night before, I had to go and make myself 15 new opening outfits. I have pictures of that and a videotape that I brought to show you. I had to also solicit from a friend evening gowns to lend the girls to wear. And I also have those photographs for you.
I'd like to see them.
All those were borrowed evening gowns, except for the one gown that was sewn on the day of the show. The contestant's mother did that, the orange dress.
Mm-hmm.
Every time we called Leroy, it was an excuse.
That's not true.
Well, tell me about it, Mr. Carey. Did you tell her that you were going to show up?
Yeah, Your Honor, I was going to show up.
So what happened?
On the day of the show, because it kept being postponed and postponed, I had another obligation that same, and I didn't realize it was the same day. So
when did you realize that it was the same day?
When I called my house and I got a message saying that I'm supposed to be in New York, and I spoke with Mr. Brown because I worked with him before.
What date did you call?
It must have been that Saturday. I can't remember the exact
He
date.
called me 2 o'clock on the Sunday of my pageant because I was now leaving to go to the auditorium to get it ready.
Right.
Well, when did you realize, Mr. Carey, that you had double booked yourself? If you told her you were going to be there for the pageant, when did you realize that you had these two obligations? On what date?
When I got the message, when I called my house and got the message.
But, Mr. Carey, she had told you before that the pageant was rescheduled for the 26th.
Well, she had told me I had gotten several dates for the pageant.
That is incorrect.
No, she must have told you. Look, listen. She must have told you that the pageant is now rescheduled for the 26th. Let's say she only told you a week in advance.
Right.
Let's say she only told you a week in advance,
Okay.
and I can't imagine putting a pageant together just in a week because you have to have people there. But let's say it was just a week. Now, your schedule, if you looked at your schedule, you'd say, well, it's on the 26th. On the 26th, I have this other project that I have to do, so that date is not good.
Okay. Well,
so what did you do? You didn't look in your diary?
No, I didn't write it down. I didn't. That was my
Well,
fault.
then that's your fault.
Yes.
Good. So we finally got there.
Yeah.
It was your
I agree.
fault.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. That would have been easy right from the start.
That's right.
Then she gets her money back.
And I agree. I agree that she gets her money back. As a matter of fact, Your Honor, I mean, I don't have a problem giving her money back. Okay. Now,
Obviously, you have a problem.
I'm speaking.
A problem giving me my money back. Sorry.
What I was trying to do, I mean, I should have been honest with her from the beginning, let you know about the money. I had to sell the dresses in order to get the money back. But Your Honor, when she started threatening me, sending emails to my clients and to my colleagues, saying that I was trying to defraud her, when she know that's far from the truth.
Well, just one second. So we have no problem now with your claim, madam. Your claim is you want your money back for the deposits. You also want a lot more money for aggravation.
Not for aggravation, just the money that I used to get the opening outfits together the Saturday before the show.
Well, how much did you spend?
Well, actually, it was really cheap.
How much did you spend?
$600.
Just one second. But you're going to get $2,100 back.
That was my deposit for what was not delivered.
I understand that, Miss Cummings. I'm not really good in math. However, if you're getting $2,100 back and you spent $600 to get the outfits together, you're still ahead $1,500, right?
I guess.
Is that right?
I'm sorry, Judge. I was looking at the pictures. 100 minus 600, 1,500. You're right.
So you're still ahead $1,500.
Okay, I am.
Right. Okay.
You want to see this video?
No, I know you're dying to see the video, so we'll take a look at it for a couple of minutes. Put it in.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Renee Cummings says clothing designer Leroy Carey ruined her beauty pageant when he failed to deliver the evening gowns. Leroy says he tried his best.
That's I Love New York t-shirts. The girls are wearing t-shirts. We strip them, we cut them, and we slash them.
I love it.
It's cute, yes it is. And we used it to sort of pay tribute to the World Trade Center. But
love it.
I didn't want anything that daring. I'm sort of conservative, so I had another idea in mind. And then we have this contestant. She fainted on stage.
So?
Because of the dress that she was wearing was
How
too
do I know
tight.
that? That's ridiculous. She fainted because of her dress?
The dress she
Was
borrowed
too
to
tight?
wear. And then the
Was too
stress
tight?
and the anguish of getting something the night before.
Get over it.
She's right here.
Get over it. I don't want to hear it. Stress, anguish. Please, over a dress?
A competition. It's an evening gown. It's a competition, Your Honor.
So?
It's a competition. These girls build all summer they've been working on this.
Did she win?
No, she didn't.
Maybe that's why she fainted.
Is that
Not it. Listen, Miss Cummings, get it together. Get it together. You're entitled to your deposit back.
Okay.
All right. Now, let's get to your cross-complaint for defamation. I'd like to see what evidence that you have.
Okay. These are
And then I
all
have
the
some
emails
questions.
that she sent out.
Let me see. Did you have a promise to return the money, sir, on October 23rd?
I told her I was going to mail the money out. Yes, I did.
Did you?
No, I didn't.
Well, this says that you, in the letter, it says that you promised to return the money on Wednesday, October 23rd, and he still hasn't returned the money. Why is that defamation? It's true.
No, but, Your Honor, I got that before. You know, she told me this is what she was going to do if I didn't send the money out to her.
Good. So what?
And I mean,
So why didn't you send the money to her? You
Your Honor,
just
I was trying to sell the dresses in order to get the money to send back to her. Because Your Honor, not only did I had to send her back her money, I spent a lot of money out of my pocket also.
So what?
I paid for a hotel room that I had to pay to go back
That's
and
your
forth
fault.
to New
You got
York.
confused. You didn't check your
No, Your Honor, I'm
diary.
saying prior to September 11th.
I understand that, sir. But the whole problem was created by you because you didn't check your diary to see that you had 2 appointments on the same
No,
day.
Your Honor, I'm saying prior to all of this.
That's your fault. You have to suck it up. You got to suck it up. If you made an ultimate mistake, what they needed were their gowns on time. And I don't care what efforts you made and what money you spent prior to that time, ultimately, they had a pageant scheduled. They had your guarantee that you would be there. You did not show up. You promised to return the money promptly. You did not return the money promptly, and she sent out a series of emails outlining exactly what happened. That's not defamation.
Your Honor.
She's allowed to do that.
Your Honor.
First Amendment.
Yeah, Your Honor, prior to this pageant, I have got where checks have bounced on me, where I spent money out of my pocket to purchase stuff, to do the gowns. I paid for hotels so I could fit them. But I put up with it, Your Honor. I mean, there was no complaint. I've never had this problem before.
Mr. Carey,
So I trusted
I
him.
acknowledge that if you had a problem, you had a legitimate complaint. But then you don't say, the day before the pageant, I'm going to be on the train, don't worry, and not show up. That's unprofessional, sir. And what she's accusing you here in these letters is being unprofessional, which you were. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,100, and your counterclaim is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I thought they should have got their money back, but I thought I should have got mine too.
My entire show was nearly ruined, but thank God we had a backup plan.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Wright versus Davis Crockett. Step forward.
Contractor Frank White is suing his ex-girlfriend, 35-year-old bakery employee Cheryl Crockett, and her ex-boyfriend, 37-year-old maintenance technician Robert Davis. Frank says Robert won't return his son's bedroom furniture and personal belongings.
Mr. Wright, according to the complaint that I've read, there was a time back in 1999 that your son was living with you. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
You and the defendant, Miss Crockett, are the parents of that child.
Yes, Your Honor.
And at that time, you either purchased or you had furniture for him. Then in 1999, your son decided to go and live with his mother and her then boyfriend, Mr. Davis.
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Crockett asked if she could have your son's furniture.
Yes.
You said, fine, but on condition that if he ever moves back with me, I get the furniture back.
Yes.
Had you bought the furniture for him?
Yes.
How long had he been living with you?
For 13 years.
And your son did go to live with his mother and her boyfriend, and that didn't work out. There was a period when you had some problems with Mr. Davis. You and your son moved out.
Yes.
And when you moved out, you left the furniture.
Yes, so we left with whatever we could, just the clothes on our back.
When did your son move back in your home?
In January of 2001.
And when for the first time did you contact Mr. Davis for the furniture?
Well, I had not spoke with Mr. Davis myself personally. I had spoke with Cheryl, Stephen's mother, and she informed me that at numerous times she had spoke with Bob Davis about getting the furniture returned back to her. When they first had moved out of Mr. Davis's residence, Mr. Davis had gave me a phone call looking for Cheryl and mentioned to me that there was some furnishings that he was not going to return to Cheryl because he has some storage fees, is what he said, at the time of $137. He said, you know, we had an agreement. The furnishings were Stephen's. They had nothing to do with Bob nor Cheryl, and that, you know, whatever their problems are, they need to take them up between them.
Mr. Davis, where is the furniture, sir?
Right now it's at my residence.
It's at your residence.
Yes.
What is it doing at your residence?
I had it stored for a few months, and after that I brought it back home.
What'd you bring it back home for?
Couldn't pay rent on the storage anymore.
So where is it in your residence?
It's in one of my rooms.
What's there?
Dresser, bed, and all of Stephen's belongings are still bagged up.
That property belongs to them.
That's correct.
Perfect. The court will prepare an order, Mr. Wright, that you can go and retrieve the property. What's a good day for you?
Anytime's fine.
Fine. So we'll make it 8 days from today.
Okay, be fine.
Okay.
My other concern is, Your Honor, is the condition of the furniture.
Yes.
Well, it's not the same. I guarantee you it's not in the same condition.
Well, I know it's not because I've seen it, and I know some articles are missing.
Well, they may be missing, but right now I can't deal with that. I mean, we don't know what they are. What?
I also have the concern of, as my property was at this fellow's house, he rented it out to his roommates.
Yeah, that's what it's doing.
And that's
He's
just,
renting it.
to me, that's just not right. Like,
Well, it may not be right. However, he didn't want to pay storage fees. The matter wasn't brought...
He never had it in storage.
I paid storage fees.
Whether you paid storage fees or not, that's your problem. Right now it's in your house and it's being used, and it's being used by somebody who, according to them, is paying you rent.
Paying rent for the room, correct.
Paying rent for the room.
Furniture.
So you're using the property, and I'm sure it's not in the same condition, but had you sued him sooner,
Well,
if you had sued him sooner,
yeah, you're right about
then you would not have had this problem, right?
You know, I do have 2 kids involved in this situation. That's why it was kind of touchy for me to go ahead and sue him, because he's got my kids.
For whatever reason. He has the furniture, and I assume, Mr. Davis, that you don't want to do anything to purposely damage any of this furniture. I'm
Never
sure
have.
that it has been
Never
subject to wear and tear, probably more than normal wear and tear over the last 2 years, but furniture doesn't last forever.
Exactly.
You're entitled to get your furniture back. It's your furniture, and we'll cut an order that you get your son's furniture back 8 days from today. Now, you don't have a counterclaim. You just say you can have your property back when you pay for storage fees. Okay, do you have a bill for storage fees?
Yes, ma'am.
Let me
I'd
see
like
it.
to see a date on that, too. We left.
Shh. Let me look at it.
Everything's right there, certified receipts,
Just let me take a look.
storage receipts.
Okay.
I had 3 months, I rented a garage.
Really? Mr. Davis, what is this?
Those are receipts of the garage rental.
From, to, by, nothing. Cash, garage rental. That's what it says?
Is that?
Nobody signed them? Somebody
It was
just...
just a cash tag, yeah, a cash receipt.
Well, how long have you been using his furniture?
2 years.
How long have you been using his furniture?
Using this furniture, not 2 years.
How long?
Probably a little over a year.
Yeah, well, more than covers that. Mr. Davis, don't embarrass yourself or me or the court or anybody else about doing anything nasty to this furniture or
I wouldn't
nasty
do
to
that.
the property.
I wouldn't do that.
Just return it. Do the right thing. If you're not getting along with this young lady right now and you have an ongoing battle with her, that has nothing to do with the plaintiff.
I understand that.
Absolutely nothing. He was not a bad guy. He had custody of his child, just like I assume you now do. Have
Full
custody of
custody
your
of both my
children.
girls.
You have custody of your children?
That's correct.
Just put this in perspective. Your 2 fathers who have full-time custody of their children. You understand?
Yes, ma'am.
So you shouldn't want to do anything to hurt him.
No.
We understand each other? So you make sure that that furniture gets
That's no
back in
problem.
reasonable condition. Very good. Thank you.
6 on the calendar in the matter of Astorga versus De La Cruz. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat, please.
Mr. Astorga, you and the defendant were married for how many years?
8 years, I believe, to be.
And when were you divorced?
Back in '98.
And you have 2 sons.
Yes, we do.
How old are the children?
13 and 15.
According to your complaint, there came a time, about a year or so ago, when your former wife was moving out of the area where she had been living with the 2 boys. And the 2 of you decided that the boys would come and spend the school year with you since you lived in their school district. Is that right?
Yes, I would say to a certain extent, Your Honor. The reason they came to live with me is because Paula and her husband had been separated at the time, and they got into a financial situation, so she had to move out of the home that she was in, which was a 3-bedroom apartment, and she had moved into a 1-bedroom apartment. So, being that I had a 2-bedroom apartment, the boys were in my school district, so they did come to live with me based on that fact.
Then there came a time when the children went back to live with their mother. She had a support order reinstated against you. Now you're suing her for that time, the support time that the children were living with you.
Right, that is correct, Your Honor.
Did you have a discussion with your former husband about child support?
Yes, I have released him on several occasions of rearages because he's either not had a job and they were going to take away his license. So at one point I have documentation here where I signed a paper to the DA releasing him of over $1,000 in rearages that he was supposed to remain paying me child support.
Can I see that, please?
That's a copy from the district attorney's file.
This was back in 1996.
Right. Okay, that's what I'm getting at. Okay, so then in 96, he was supposed to continue to pay child support. And then in 98, he again got into rearages. And I again released him of child support.
Can I see that, please?
And it was September of 98 that I released him of paying child support, but he agreed to help me pay for clothes and stuff for the kids.
Okay, just a minute. How much was your support order back in 1996, sir?
I
have it right here.
$158 a month.
Well, that's not a lot of money for 2 children.
No, it's not, Your Honor.
There came a time, sir, in 1996 when you fell in arrears in the amount of $1,345, according to this document. Can you tell me why that is?
Well, unfortunately, I've been disabled, Your Honor.
How did you support yourself?
Through odd jobs.
Odd jobs, right.
Yeah.
So from odd jobs, you pay $158 a month for your 2 children.
Yes, I did. Yes, I
No,
did.
you didn't. You fell into arrears of $1,345. Just answer my question. Is it correct that your former wife released you from child support in the amount of $1,345 in 1996?
Yes, she did, but she also received a van back in 96 for the $1,400, Your Honor.
What do you mean a van?
Yes, I have a document here if you wish to look at it.
That van was ordered to me in LA when we got separated. That van was ordered to me because I had the children and the judge ordered me to have the van for transportation for the children.
Well, this does say that this release of the van had to do with the release of child support payments, madam.
Right, but he was
Okay.
supposed to continue to pay child support.
Continue to pay?
Right.
After that?
Right.
Okay, so
And he
that this piece of paper that you showed me releasing him from child support was really covered by the van. But then he was supposed to continue to pay.
And he got into
Did he
rearages again.
pay? All right, so let's forget this.
Okay.
All right, let's forget that piece. After 1996, did he pay his child support?
Up until September when he got into rearages again and I released him again. That's that letter you have there. In 99, beginning of 99, I was supposed to go to the DA and have him start him paying child support again. That's when I had my personal problems like he was talking about, okay? At that time, we made a verbal agreement because we both decided we didn't want to disrupt our kids' schooling. They go to very good schools. So we made a verbal agreement that he would keep the kids Monday through Friday to keep the kids in school. They would come home on the weekends. That started in March. They came home on the summer, and they went back when school started again at the end of August. I have receipts here from 1999. It totals almost to $1,400 that I spent on my children. I also work, I supply their medical coverage, I supply dental coverage, I supply vision coverage. I paid for Eric's glasses in 1999. They were $130. I have a court order here that he's supposed to pay half of that, which he never did. I finally put my foot down and said I'm not releasing him anymore. He has not been helping me. In December, when Christmas vacation came of '99, the boys came home with me for Christmas vacation. I didn't let them go back. My husband has been helping me transport them back and forth to school. He's asked him to help for transportation. He says, no, I will not do her any favors. He says, that's not a favor to her. Those are your kids. I've ordered him to start paying child support again. February, he was supposed to pay me $158. He only paid me $79. March, he was supposed to pay $158. He only paid me $79. May, he was supposed to pay...
Yes, Your Honor. Okay. And she's well aware of why. On February 5th, Your Honor, I was involved in a motorcycle accident. Okay.
How were you on a motorcycle?
Because I do funeral escorts.
He's supposed to be disabled.
Just a second. You do what?
Funeral escorts, Your Honor.
I thought you were disabled.
I am. Okay.
And you were riding a motorcycle?
Well, I don't have to lift it or push it. The individual that I'm working for did not have workman's compensation coverage. So I did not have an income. And she's well aware of that.
Mr. Astorga, I want you to listen to me. I'm just playing around. I have divided $158 by 4.3. That's how many weeks there are in a month.
Yes, ma'am.
That comes to $37 a week.
Right.
Divided by 2.
Right.
That is $18 per child a week. Let's divide that by 7.
Mm-hmm.
$2.62 a day is what the court has ordered you to pay.
Okay.
$2.62 a day. Now, it appears to me that there has been a long pattern by you of not paying child support.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
In the year that the children were with you, you spent more on a computer than you did the entire year before on child support.
Yes, ma'am.
And later today,
My propane lines have been cut. He put nails in the driveway. I have pictures of nails thrown in my driveway. He was arrested for willful cruelty to a child when he tried to kill my son. He stepped on his throat.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. John Astorga says his ex-wife Paula Dela Cruz owes him for expenses when their children lived with him.
Did your former wife pay for the boys' clothing?
She has an 18-year-old at home that she was also providing clothing for, too.
Did she provide
I don't know.
for the boys, while they were living with you, clothing?
No.
She
That's
didn't?
not true.
No.
Just a minute.
No,
She
Your
didn't?
Honor.
You bought them their clothing?
I bought most of their clothes. I have
Well,
receipts here, Your Honor.
Good. Let me see the receipts.
Can I show you mine?
Okay, these are all the receipts of the... Okay, this is a computer. Wait a minute. This is an electrical... There was also a computer that was purchased during the duration of my children's stay because they required computer-generated homework.
So you bought them a computer?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you send it home with them when they went back to live with their mother?
No.
So you have it?
I have the computer, yes, but
So
they
why
do
did-
come over and use it periodically.
So why didn't you, if the children are with their mother, and you purchased this computer for their computer-generated homework, and they're now living with their mother, why didn't you give them their computer?
Why didn't I?
Yeah.
Well, I felt I wasn't being compensated. I mean, it's
All
bad
right.
enough
What
I
do you
had
mean
my children for a
Just
whole
a second.
year.
What do you mean being compensated?
Well-
How do you compensate for your
well-
children? How much did you spend on the computer, sir?
I paid for the computer $851, Your Honor.
When did you buy the computer?
I bought it back in August 22nd of '99.
And then you paid all of these amounts for the children's clothing.
Yes, ma'am.
So explain to me why, sir, that in the year 1999, you spent more on a computer than you did the entire year before on child support when the children were living
Okay.
with their mother. Explain that to me.
I will explain
that you're
that
able
to you.
that you're able to do that.
Okay, the reason being is because my children were living with me on a week basis and staying with her on weekends.
Sir, I'm not talking about that year. I'm saying
No,
to you
that
in the
was-
year that the children were with you.
Yes, ma'am.
You weren't doing anything more that year because you were disabled than you were doing this year. So
Okay.
explain to me, sir, how you were able to pay off $1,000 and all these other bills for your children.
Okay, I will explain
Just
to you.
a second.
Okay.
And since the children are back with their mother, you haven't been able to pay $2.62 for each of your children for child support.
I just explained that to you. February 5th, I was involved in a motorcycle accident.
How do you support yourself now?
Right now, I had money saved.
You have money saved?
I had.
Mr. Astorga, let me explain something to you, sir. You've been getting away with murder since 1996.
I don't think so, Your
Oh,
Honor.
I think you've been getting away with murder since
No.
1996, sir. It costs more than $2.62 a day to feed my dog.
Okay.
More to
I
feed my
understand
dog, and my
that.
dog weighs 5 pounds. And you have the audacity to tell me that you believe that $158 a month for 2 teenage boys is a reasonable share for a parent to pay for their children and not pay it. And you want her to pay you for the 8 months that the boys were living
No.
with you? Get out of here. Case dismissed.
Parties are excused and they step out.
I'm taking him back to court. We have a court date in August, and the judge is going to order him to find a job, so he's mad.
And now the next case.
All parties on Gallo versus McDonald. Step forward, please.
44-year-old gas station attendant David Gallo is suing his former longtime girlfriend, 32-year-old financial consultant Jeanette McDonald, for half the value of the furniture they bought while living together. Jeanette is countersuing for harassment.
You and the defendant were in a relationship, according to your papers, for 13 years. And you have a child together, a girl.
Correct.
How old is your daughter?
She's 10.
According to your complaint, Mr. Gallo, when you separated, your arrangement was that the defendant could keep all of the household furnishings.
That's correct, ma'am.
And in exchange, you would keep 3 cars.
Yes, ma'am.
Sometime after you separated, you loaned her some money.
Yes, ma'am.
And when she didn't pay you back, you filed a small claims case against her.
No, ma'am. She wrote me a post-dated check on it that bounced twice.
Whatever. You filed a small claims case
Yes,
against her. And she filed a countersuit for half the vehicles.
Yes, ma'am.
Then it gets a little more complicated. On the day that that trial was set, according to you, your brother became ill?
No, my brother was in intensive care from a head wound. He died the day before court.
Okay. And you called her and you agreed to postpone the case.
Yes, ma'am.
But she went to court anyway and got a default judgment against you for $3,500.
Yes, ma'am.
So that you now want half the cost of the furniture, which you estimated $10,000, so you want $5,000 because she breached the agreement.
Yes, ma'am.
Miss McDonald, you have a counterclaim because you say that since the separation, Mr. Gallo has filed numerous lawsuits against you, causing you all kinds of harassment and stress. When did you separate?
We separated in December of 1996.
And at that time, he took the cars.
Your Honor, the story that I just heard you say is absolutely the first time I've ever heard that in my life. There was no agreement for cars versus furniture. This is the first time I'm hearing that.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He was arrested for willful cruelty to a child when he tried to kill my son. He stepped on his throat.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. David Gallo says ex-girlfriend Jeanette McDonald owes him for half the value of their shared furniture. Jeanette says this is David's 3rd frivolous lawsuit.
Did he, in fact, take cars at the time you separated?
There were cars left, yes.
And you took the furniture?
Some furniture, yes.
Did there come a time when he gave you some money after 1996?
Not that I recall.
But he did file a small claims case against you?
Yes.
You did then file a counterclaim having to do with the cars?
Yes.
That were left 3 years before?
Yes.
That doesn't sound right to me, Miss McDonald. That sounds like to me If he's going to give it to me, I'm going to give it to him.
When I left him, he started filing suits against me. And
When was the first lawsuit that he filed against you?
In '99. However, prior to that, he was arrested for willful cruelty to a child when he tried to kill my son. He stepped on his throat.
That was in 1996, according to you.
Yes. And that's
Ms.
when I left.
McDonald, pay careful attention to me, madam. The first lawsuit that he filed against you was this lawsuit for $800.
Yes.
And you chose to retaliate by filing a counterclaim for $3,500 for property that, even if you had part interest in, you had really abandoned over 3 years. I find that suspect, Miss McDonald. Now, did you or did you not have a conversation with Mr. Gallo about his brother being ill and then dying?
No, I did not.
You mean there was never any understanding between the two of you that he was not going to appear on the adjourned date?
No, he called me the day before our court hearing, and he said, yeah, I'm having personal problems, so I'm not going to make it up there. And I said, well, what do you mean? Well, I continued it, and there's nothing you can do about it. So I called the court, and I said, can he just continue the day before? And they said, no, only the judge can grant the continuance.
Had he made a request for a continuance?
Evidently, he had faxed the court letter saying that something, but I found out about that later.
So he did, in fact, call you and tell you that he was moving for a continuance?
Yes.
Because he had personal problems?
Yes.
Did his brother, in fact, die?
I don't know.
Well, you know his brother. I mean,
No,
you were
I
together
don't.
for 13 years.
I never met him.
She has met my brother, Your Honor.
In any event, she went there and she got a judgment against you for $3,500, which I believe
Yes, sir.
which I believe is bogus. The only thing that I can do with regard to that case, Mr. Gallo, is to make you whole, sir. Making you whole would give you a judgment for $3,500. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Now let's get to your counterclaim, Ms. McDonald. You say he has filed numerous cases against you. I'd like to see them, please.
The second one he filed is for $2,450, half of household furnishings at time of separation. That was dismissed because he filed it in the wrong venue, and so no action was taken after that.
Okay, so that's the second one. That was after you got the judgment against him for $3,500.
Correct.
Okay, and what's the next one?
Is this one for $5,000 for, again, half of the household items after separation with a different separation date.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Let me tell you what I find, Ms. McDonald. That $3,500 counterclaim that you filed was just to get even, and that was the first lawsuit that he filed against you in small claims court. The first, according to you.
Lawsuit, yes, but the harassment has been vandalism to my house. My propane lines have been cut. He put nails in the driveway. I have pictures of nails thrown in my driveway. He does everything he can to harass and make my life miserable.
The one lawsuit in small claims court was about the $800. And if he hadn't lost that, my sense was that he wouldn't file the rest of them over the furniture.
Right.
In any event, on your lawsuit, sir, I am awarding you $3,500. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
And on your counterclaim, I'm dismissing it. That's it.
Parties are excused. You may step out. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Miss Taylor, you and Mr. McCrary were high school sweethearts, according to what I read here. You have a 2-year-old child together, saved money together. I assume when you were in high school, decided to rent an apartment together, which was when?
That was August of '98.
And you signed a year lease?
Yes, we did.
Is that correct so far?
Yes.
There was an argument sometime in May of '99. You claim when he moved out, he also withdrew your savings of $1,200, and you believe that he should be responsible for half of the remaining months on the lease. He moved out when?
In May. We was together in an apartment for 9 months.
So, according to you, he owes 1/2 of 3 months' rent.
Yeah.
Okay. And what was the rent?
$355.
Total?
Uh-huh.
Did you at any time move someone else into the apartment?
No, no, ma'am.
A new boyfriend or anything else?
No.
Did anybody come and stay with you?
Somebody came and stayed with me, but his name wasn't on the lease.
I don't care whether his name was on the lease or not.
Well, he came at the end of the very last month.
So 1 month?
Yeah.
Under the lease?
Under the lease.
He stayed there?
Yes.
Why didn't he pay rent?
Well, it wasn't really initially a plan for him to stay there.
But he did?
Yeah, I mean.
So why should he pay for that? Why she paid for time when this other guy was living in the apartment?
Well, I mean, he paid for other things. He did help me out.
Person lives in an apartment, they got to pay rent. And if he had paid half the rent, then you wouldn't be asking for him for the other half, right?
Well, it was only for the final month, and we wasn't planning on moving in together. It's just
Who
something
knows?
that
Who
happened.
cares? So it's for 2 months at most. Now, you moved out, sir, because you had an argument with her.
Yes, Your Honor.
Tell me about that argument.
I don't remember the exact argument, but we were arguing ever since we moved in together. And I just got fed up and I moved out. And 2 days later, she threw my clothes out on my parents' driveway. Told me I wasn't making up my mind quick enough, and she told me it was over. And then after things calmed down, she called me up and asked me, could we get back together? And I said no.
How much after she put your clothes out on your mother's driveway did she call and try to reconcile with you?
About 2 weeks later.
Is that right?
That's not true, Your Honor.
Okay, what happened with the clothes? Did you bring the clothes over to his mom's house?
He had already moved out. He just left stuff there. He still had things at the apartment. If he's moving out and everything, I was giving him his stuff. I didn't leave it in his yard or anything. He's over-exaggerating. What had happened, he was depressed. We was both full-time students in college or whatever. And he was working at a job at Procter & Gamble, but it was like a seasonal thing where you work 6 months and then you're off, and you either you collect unemployment checks or you can find another job. He decided to collect unemployment checks. And so he would use all his money to pay the rent, and I would pay for all the rest of the utilities like telephone and food and electric and everything else. And so his money, unemployment checks, that's not a lot anyway. So his whole entire check would go on the rent, and he would have no money for himself, really. And so he was just depressed about that. And then he had all the time on his hands, so he had to watch our daughter more. And it's a combination of a lot of things, but he was just acting. His attitude was changing. Everything was changing about him, and he was feeling depressed. So I was asking, like, well, am I doing anything wrong? What am I doing wrong? And he wouldn't have no reply to that or whatever. And he just, when we would have talks and stuff, and he would try to leave and say, well, I can't take it anymore. This is just not the same or whatever. And I would tell him, well, you know, stay for us, stay for the family and everything else. And I had convinced him a couple of times before he tried to leave to stay. But this final time, we wasn't arguing, we was talking. It would be a long talk, emotional talk, we both crying and everything. And he like, well, you know, I just need to get away. So it was fine. And I was upset about it for a couple of days, sad and heartbroken over it. But, you know, I always felt like he was going to come back. And then I would go over there to drop off our daughter because his mother would watch her. And I come over there, and he got on brand new clothes, new shoes, new golds in his mouth, tattoos and everything new. And then it came clear to me that he was just leaving his responsibility. He wanted to spend money on him. He didn't want to take care of the bills and everything like he used to.
How old are you?
I'm 20 years old.
That's what happens when you're 20 years old and you make a baby. When you're 18 years old, then you get responsibilities. It all sounds nice in the planning stage, but when you have to live the life of being responsible and not being able to buy yourself things and live a little bit when you're 19, that's what happened. Okay. But there was that 2-month period. She didn't have another roommate, like the boyfriend, who should have paid his half, which would mean that if you decided you had enough of this relationship, you owe her 1 month's rent. She lived there for 2 months by herself. Half of it should be yours. Now let's get to the $1,200 that you say he removed from the joint savings account. You say there was an agreement, sir, between the two of you.
Yes. The agreement was after we moved out, or after I moved out, and we decided that we weren't going to be in together anymore, I took the money out of the bank account.
I know you did that.
She kept all the stuff that was in the apartment, all the furniture, the bedroom set, the microwave, TVs, VCRs.
Was that all paid for?
Yes.
From what fund had you furnished this apartment?
From my previous job at Walgreens.
Okay. And hers?
Well, at the time she was pregnant, so she didn't have a job, Your Honor.
Okay. Is it true, Miss Taylor, that when he moved out, he left all the furniture?
He left. It was only a one-bedroom apartment. So
one-bedroom apartment has
he
a
left
bedroom.
The sofa.
A bedroom. Was that furnished? Did it have a bedroom set in it?
Well, that was his bedroom set from his house. He could have took that. It wasn't.
Just a minute. Was that from your house?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so the bedroom set you didn't pay for?
No,
Or
Your
was it
Honor.
your parents and they gave it to you?
My parents gave it to me, yes.
What about the living room furniture?
That's what we both paid for from the joint bank account. All the furniture we bought, what we saved from our joint bank account, that's what we used.
Well, that's what he's saying. He's saying that he walked out with nothing.
Yeah.
Living room furniture?
He didn't.
Pay attention. Living room furniture? Did you buy that?
Yes, we bought that together.
Did you buy a television set?
Yes, but he took that.
Took the TV?
No, Your Honor, I did not receive the TV until after her and her boyfriend moved out in September of '99.
So you did, in fact, get the TV back?
September of '99, yes, Your
What
Honor.
difference does it make when you got it back? What other furniture was bought from joint money?
The kitchen set, the
Kitchen set, was that bought from joint money?
Only things kitchen set is like plates and a microwave.
What about table and chairs?
Table, yeah, dinette set, yeah.
Well, so, dinette set. Dinette set was purchased by the two of you?
Yes.
And he left that there?
Yes, he did.
And then the silverware, plates, pots, pans, all of that stuff, you bought when you moved into the apartment? And he left that there?
Yeah.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You didn't get the security deposit back?
None of it back. The house was damaged, holes in the door, whatever, from violent fights.
And later today,
Your car wouldn't have been damaged at all, sir, if you didn't follow him, right?
But it wouldn't have been damaged if you wouldn't have just rammed it.
No, it wouldn't have been damaged at all had you not been doing the wrong thing.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Tashima Taylor says former live-in boyfriend Anthony McCrary owes her for a broken lease and money he stole from a joint checking account. Anthony says Tashima kept their furniture.
Do you remember how much you paid for the living room furniture?
Like $800, $900, not including the tables and everything.
Well, if that came to $800 or $900 and the dinette set and the plates and pots and pans and all that other stuff, clearly that's more than $1,200. Look, this is not so difficult. Mr. McCrary, I don't believe that there was an agreement with her that she would keep all the stuff and you would take the money out of the joint bank account. That was an agreement you made up here with yourself. You are paying child support?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you pay child support from the time you moved out until the time that the court made the order?
I was served the papers in September, and we didn't go to court until November. So I didn't pay child support until December of '99, all the way up to present.
So you didn't pay child support from the time you moved out until December?
Yes, Your Honor.
So that's September, October, November, 3 months.
There was no child support to be paid, Your Honor.
Yes, there was. There just wasn't an order.
Well, yes, I bought my daughter food, diapers, and clothing. Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. You're going to give her back half of what was in the joint bank account, sir. Just $600. There was $1,200 in there that you acknowledge, and you're going to pay her $355 for 1 month's rent, because I believe that that's fair. You had a responsibility. Now, did you get any security deposit back?
No. The house was damaged, holes in the door, whatever, from violent fights or whatever.
Well, that's very sad. $955, Mr. McCrary, is what you owe the plaintiff, judgment for the plaintiff. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It was just retaliation from a disagreement that we had about another situation.
Well, he's not a reasonable person. We can't even talk anymore. I mean, he's still causing constant conflict in my life at this very moment.
And now the next case.
All parties on Long versus Smith. Step forward, please.
52-year-old Ronald Long Sr. is suing 18-year-old construction worker Joshua Smith for assaulting his son RT and ramming his car during an episode of road rage.
Did you people know each other before this road rage took place?
I don't know him, I know his son.
Well, actually, Your Honor, I filed suit so my son could collect the damages to his car.
Oh.
Since he's a
So
minor.
you weren't driving?
No, ma'am.
Fine. Son,
Yes.
why don't you have a seat? Easy. You know him,
Yeah, I know him.
and he was driving,
Yeah.
and you know him.
Yes, ma'am.
Each of you claimed that the other caused damage to your respective cars.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
You want your deductible that you had to pay of $500, and you want a couple of $1,000s for damage that you say he caused to your car.
Yes, ma'am.
So I found the story's pretty convoluted. Why don't you tell me your end, and then I'll hear from you, sir.
On the night of March 31st, me and my friend Charles Rice, we were coming back from the movie theater. And we went into this drive-in restaurant where we were going to get something to eat, but we saw some people that didn't care for us too much, and they saw us and they started waving their hands and stuff. So we proceeded to go home. And as I was going home, I noticed 2 cars on us.
You mean 2 cars following you?
Yes, ma'am. And when we pulled up to the stop sign, they would get out and run up and cuss and yell and scream and say they were going to kill us and stuff. But I didn't want to show these boys where I live, so I decided to take a detour. They proceeded to follow us, and every stop sign they'd run up and try to, you know, hit my car or whatever. And as I proceeded westbound on a road called 58 that goes to my house, there was a car behind me, and there was a car behind that car.
Who was driving that car?
Mr. Smith.
Go ahead.
He goes out into the other lane of traffic, which is a 25-mile-per-hour zone. He was going very fast. I'm not sure of the speed limit, but fast enough to get ahead of the car behind me and my car.
Okay, so he pulls his car around and?
And I put on a turn signal to turn onto the road that leads to my road called Hawthorne. And he passed me, and he saw me put on my turn signal, I guess. So he did like a stop and a turn, and he went up and got in front of me and slammed on his brakes. He stopped and he let a gentleman out of his car, and he ran up and grabbed me and started hitting me. And he got off, and my lane was clear to go. And he was in the other lane of traffic, so I proceeded to go home, and he pulled up in front of me again, and he hit my car. And I just proceeded to go and went home.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
My friend got out of the car and went back. I had no idea he was going to be beating him up, you know.
All of that could have been avoided if you just went and ate your burger in the drive-thru.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 16-year-old R.T. Long Jr. says Joshua Smith assaulted him due to road rage.
Mr. Smith, let me hear your version of these events, sir.
All right, we were at the drive-in restaurant like he was saying. He was talking to stuff, you know, I don't know what you want to call it, but he always does that. And my friend is right here. They were in the car, and they were following him, and I was behind them following.
So there were 2 cars following him?
Yeah, there were 2 cars. I was behind that car. Well, we were at the stop sign, like you said, and they stopped, and they went out and up to the car, and they were saying stuff. I'm not sure what they were saying because I was in the car behind them. Well, after that, I went around them there, you know. I went around them there. I did not pass 2 cars at once. And
You
then
went around who?
I went around the vehicle that he was in.
Okay.
And I was following RT, and then I passed RT on 58 Highway, just him, and then I turned up right on Hawthorne, and I stopped my car in the middle of the road, and my friend got out of the car and went back. I had no idea he was going to be beating him up, you know, and then he just took off and he hit my car while I was sitting there at a standstill. I was sitting there, parked. I didn't even see it coming. I mean, all I heard was the bang on the passenger side. I have pictures of my car.
I'd like to see pictures of both cars.
As you can see in this photo, there's no way that I could have hit his car by the damage that's done on my vehicle. Okay.
What street does he live on?
I'm thinking it's Redbud Street.
And do you get there by going to Hawthorne?
Yeah.
And what street do you live on?
I live on North Scott.
And do you get there by going through Hawthorne?
No.
So I am correct, sir, that you were in fact following him,
Yes.
and that the other car was in fact following him.
Yes.
Why?
Because he talks a lot of stuff that he shouldn't be saying. I don't know. We were trying to figure out what was going on.
And how did you think you were going to figure out what was going on by following him?
We were going to go see what his problem was. That's what we were doing.
And at some point, your passenger got out of the car and went up and assaulted him.
Yes.
You acknowledge that?
Yes.
Is that the way you thought that you
No.
were going to talk to him and find out what his problem was?
No, I did not. I thought that my friend was going to talk to him, but it worked out. He started assaulting him.
You're going to eat your $500 deductible.
I'm going to eat. What does that have to do with my car getting hit?
Easy. You were the aggressor because you were following him. He's on his way home. There's no question in my mind that you either meant to frighten him. Certainly somebody did, in fact, They came from your car, assaulted him, right?
Yeah.
All of that could have been avoided if you just went and ate your burger in the drive-thru. Your car wouldn't have been damaged at all, sir, if you didn't follow him, right?
Right. But it wouldn't have been damaged if he wouldn't have just rammed it.
No, it wouldn't have been damaged at all if he... Listen to me. It would not have been damaged at all had you not been doing the wrong thing. Eat your $500. Let me see the estimates on your damage.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
What kind of car was this, sir?
That's an 87 Caprice Classic.
The damage exceeds the price of the car. So what happened?
There's two estimates there. There's another one for $22.18, I believe.
Did you fix the car?
It hasn't been fixed yet.
The car ain't even worth that.
Sticks and stones will break my bones, but names will never hurt me. I want you to leave court today just thinking about those little words. If you don't like what somebody is saying to you, you have your option. You and your friends chose that night to follow him to make trouble, which you in fact did. At some point after the initial involvement of the morons in his car, you stopped your car and let your passenger, I'm speaking, and let your passenger out to assault him. And now you're complaining that your car was damaged? Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $22.1809. That's all.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks have seats, please.
You're Mrs. Bridges?
Yes, ma'am.
And who are you?
I'm Mr. Bridges, David.
Well, you weren't there during the course of this incident that brings us to court today.
No, ma'am.
Is that right? So why don't you have a seat?
Okay.
Tell me your first name.
Brittany.
Brittany, you have a boyfriend.
Yes, ma'am.
Your boyfriend is her stepson.
Yes, ma'am.
Is your boyfriend here today?
Yes, ma'am.
Boyfriend. According to your complaint, you were at the defendant's house. You were having an argument with your boyfriend. The argument got kind of loud. The defendant, his stepmother, came outside. There was some sort of an altercation, and at the end of this altercation, according to you, the defendant burned up all of your CDs.
Yes, ma'am.
You are suing for the value of those CDs and also some mental anguish. And she has a rather interesting defense to the CDs, although she acknowledges she burned them, correct?
That's right.
When did this incident occur?
July 3rd.
And you were at the defendant's home.
Yes, ma'am.
What were you doing there?
Me and my boyfriend went up there to go swimming
How long has he been your boyfriend?
for nearly 2 years.
So you know the defendant very well.
Yes, ma'am.
And I assume that you had always had a nice relationship with her.
Yes, ma'am.
So what happened on this particular day when you went over there to go swimming?
Well, me and him got into an argument, and she came out there and was asking, she was in our argument, and...
What did she say?
She was just trying to, ask us what was going on, and we told her, and she was like, well, y'all don't need to be fighting and all this. Then she started getting ill with Rodney. So Rodney...
She started to get what?
Ill, and was just starting to holler at Rodney.
Where was this argument taking place, Brittany?
We were walking down from the pool house when me and him was arguing, going to the house, and then she came outside.
Were you yelling? Were
No,
you
ma'am.
raising your voices?
No, ma'am.
What were you arguing about?
The tanning bed.
Tanning bed?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me about that.
We were arguing who was going to get in first. It was stupid.
Okay. So she came out and she started hollering at the boyfriend.
Yes, ma'am.
Her stepson.
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
And then Rodney just told her that we wanted to leave. So he went to the house and got all his clothes and put them in his car, and her car was parked behind his car, which was in the garage. And it was blocked in, and he asked her, he said, will you move your car? And she said, no, y'all are not leaving. He said, yes, we can leave if we want to. And she said, no, I'd like to see y'all leave. So that time, Rodney just said, look, I'm going to call your mom and see if we can call the police to get my car out of the way. And so we walked over to the side of the house and called the police. And that time, she had walked over there and got in his car and got all of his clothes and my CDs. We didn't know what was going on. Then her granddaughter and grandson came over there and told us that she was burning all of our stuff.
What happened next?
We ran over there, and Rodney kicked over the 55-gallon drum to see if anything was saved, and everything was burned.
Was there a fire in the 55-gallon
Yes, ma'am.
drum? What was in the fire?
All his clothes and my CDs.
So what happened after you saw your stuff burning?
Well, she was yelling at me, trying to fight me.
What do you mean try to fight you?
She told me, when we went up to the fire, she was like, get off my property, and we were like, okay. And then she was chasing me out into the road, trying to fight me, for I don't know what reason.
All right, Miss Kimbrough, let me hear your version of these events.
Okay, they were out in the yard fighting. First, my husband went out, and he couldn't stop them, so I went out, and they had went back up to the pool. And I asked them what happened, and Brittany said it was her fault. And I said, Rodney, no matter whose fault it is, you don't need to be talking to her like that, and you don't need to be cussing. Our neighbors...
Is that what he was doing? He was cursing?
Very badly. Both of them were cursing. And I told them not to do that because our neighbors had called and could hear them, and our 2 grandchildren was there and heard it. So they came running back down to the house, and Rodney went into the bathroom, got his clothes out of the dryer, and he said he was leaving. But now his car was in my carport because it wouldn't run. It wouldn't even crank. So I knew he couldn't go nowhere, but I did ask him to leave. And my daughter Summer had came up, and something had happened earlier that day that I don't really know, but Brittany and Rodney and Summer were arguing. Well, when she came up, they started again. And I was trying to stop them, and when Summer walked over, Rodney pushed her back, and then when he pushed Summer, I started over there, and he just, pushed me. And when Brittany was cussing us, Rodney was standing there with his hands out like this, letting her cuss. And I just said, would you please call your mother to come get you, Brittany? So Rodney looked at his daddy and said something really bad. And I don't know if, I should say that, but it was really said no effing body could whip him. And then he looked at me and he told me something really bad that it's hard to say, but he took off running when he said it. And I got mad when he said that because it hurt me because I'd really been good to Rodney.
How long have you been married?
We've been married 13 years, but now we've raised Rodney most of those years he's been with us. And I grabbed his clothes, what few he had gotten out of the dryer, and I took them up to the barn and I burned them. And the CDs that was in there, I didn't see those when I grabbed the clothes. They just got mixed up because they was in the front seat of the car. And when I threw them over, I saw the case. It was a very small little CD case. And they were not Brittany's CDs.
How do you know that?
Well, they were Rodney's, and they was, in his car.
How do you know that?
Well, they had his name on them.
She says that they were her CDs.
No,
but in a
ma'am.
case that had his name on it.
It said Rodney Loves Brittany on the case. It didn't have just his name on it. I've got his CD case here, and I've got the CDs that was burned, the cases for them, what I had.
She had not said anything about the CDs at all until later that night when her stepdad called me and asked me for $600 to pay for the CDs.
I've got the burnt CDs too.
No, I believe that they were her CDs.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
This one is called Mo Thugs, DMX, Flesh of My Flesh, Blood of My Blood. Did you ever hear of Barry Manilow?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 16-year-old Brittany Manis says her boyfriend's stepmother, Jackie Kimbrell, burned her CDs.
What's important is, Miss Kimbrell, you're the mother. You acted out of anger when you burned the stuff. And certainly I'm not excusing young kids who were outside in front of your house embarrassing you in front of your neighbors, cursing. Otherwise, there would have been no reason for you, nor your husband, to become involved. According to Brittany, you had always had a pleasant relationship. So you think she was just having a bad day, or were you and Rodney outside?
We weren't cursing.
No?
No, ma'am.
Well, what do you think Mr. Kimbrell came outside for?
We weren't cursing. We might have been raising our voice, but we wasn't
Okay, so
loud.
now we're raising voices.
We
So
wasn't
first you told
loud.
me you weren't raising voices, now you're raising voices. Did Rodney say something to his dad that was nasty?
Well, he said it to her, to
He said
Jackie.
it to both of us. He said
he
it to
hugged his
Roger.
dad and said it to Jackie.
Were you outside when he said that?
Yes, ma'am.
There were neighbors who lived close by?
I don't know how close. I don't know if there's somebody that lives right next door, but I know somebody lives in the trailer down the road.
There was a neighbor sitting directly across the house from me. His trailer sits in front, and he was sitting in his yard.
There isn't a question in my mind, Miss Kimbrell, that these CDs belong to Brittany. How many CDs were in your case?
31.
31?
Yes, ma'am.
How large was this case?
It was about this big, but we had them back to back, like 2 or 3 CDs in one little packet.
How do you know there were 31 CDs in there?
Because I've got all the CD cases that I had in there, most of them.
But what do you mean most of them?
That's just most of the CD cases that I have that I haven't lost. But I've written down all the names of the CDs.
Let me see them.
It was a very small CD case.
I think, Miss Kimbrell, you were probably
Here's
so
our
angry.
CD case, and here's the list.
You didn't much care what the CD case looked like. You just made a big grab
I was
for
very
everything.
upset.
You just made a
Things
big
he said to
grab
me,
for
but it
everything.
was a
Here's the
small
list of
case.
CDs.
These are the cases that are now empty. Is that
Yes,
right?
ma'am.
So we have 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 empty cases. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am. That's the ones that I could find.
Now, those are the only ones you're going to get. Now, you have a bill for these? How much were they?
We found the approximate amount for the 31 that was in there.
Forget 31. You have proof of these, 14. Let me see what kids listen to. 18 rock hard hits, 504 boys, B-O-Y-Z.
You ain't seen nothing yet.
Booty Nicks 4.
They've never been allowed to listen to him at my house.
This one is called Mo Thugs.
That has
Some
two
guys
CDs.
look like I sentenced a couple of years ago. Dr. Dre.
Yeah, that's right.
Is he a physician?
Not really.
Master P. Now here are 4 normal-looking girls.
Destiny's Child.
Very nice-looking girls. Normal. DMX. Flesh of my flesh, blood of my blood. What happened to Benny Goodman?
He was replaced by Bootleg Booty.
Bootleg Booty. Oh, Master P again. Who's the big fan of Master P?
Me.
You are.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you ever hear of Barry Manilow?
No, ma'am.
Never heard of Barry Manilow?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Now, if you're asking me about the worth of these albums, since you don't have receipts for them, right?
We don't usually keep our receipts for CDs.
How much do they cost?
On the average, about $15 a CD.
$210. 14 times 15. That's the average. What are you doing sitting over there? Who did you come to court with today?
Brittany?
Your Honor, I'll tell you the reason Rodney's here today is because he was threatened by David and Tammy to come to court, or at the time this happened, Brittany was 15 and Rodney was 19. And if Rodney will admit to telling the truth, this is what was said. They said that they was going to get him for a statutory rape if he didn't come to court and be a witness for Brittany. And said they'd never let him see Brittany again.
Your Honor, that is not true.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 16-year-old Brittany Manis says her boyfriend's stepmother, Jackie Kimbrell, burned her CDs.
Okay. On the CDs, you're going to get $210. Forget your mental anguish.
My bathing suit. My bathing suit top and my picture, she still hasn't returned.
Do you have any of that stuff?
I have her bathing suit top, but she came in the house and got everything else.
No, ma'am, I did not go in their house.
Whatever. I don't have anything else in the complaint about anything else. You have a bathing suit top? Give her a bathing suit top. Okay. As far as your lawsuit, which seeks damages for mental anguish of $1,500 because you saw your CDs burn, you better go and wash out your mouth. And when you learn not to cuss at adults, then we'll talk about mental anguish. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
They had a pretty good argument, and I went out to break it up, and like I said, they just kind of turned on us.
I don't care what they said to them or cussed or whatever. They're adults and they're children.
I just hope everybody can get along now.
And now the next case.
All parties on Trimble versus Maurer. Step forward, please.
41-year-old accountant Julie Trimble is suing her ex-boyfriend, 34-year-old handyman Jeffrey Maurer, for a series of unpaid loans to pay his bills.
All right, let's cut to the chase, Miss Trimble. You lived with this man for 3 years, according to your complaint, and say that over the course of the 3 years, he built up a debt to you for miscellaneous bills and expenses. He finally decided to leave sometime in October of this year. He gave you a check, packed his bags, and left.
Correct.
And now you went over all your bills, and you want him to pay a whole bunch of money that he hadn't paid over the 3 years you were living together.
Correct.
Did he ever sign a note to you?
No, ma'am, he did not.
Did he ever sign a lease with you?
No, ma'am, he did not.
Did you have a lease agreement with him, even though it wasn't in writing?
No, ma'am, I did not.
So what do you think he owes you for?
Over the course of 3 years, I just basically went back from last December. He was living with me. We were boyfriend and girlfriend, and he had agreed to pay a third of the rent and the utilities because it was myself, my daughter, and him living there. And he also had incurred a lot of personal expenses that he didn't have the means to pay at the time. So I loaned him money on just various things, paying for his utility bills at a house that he was refurbishing.
Well, what was the repayment agreement? If you say you made these loans to him, what was the repayment agreement?
That I would pay these bills for him and he would pay me as soon as he got back on his feet.
What if he never got back on his feet?
Well, his whole contention was that he was rebuilding this house of his and he was going to sell the house, and he also had a truck that he was trying to sell, and with those proceeds he was to reimburse me for all of these expenses. I have a ledger that I made up for him. I used to give him periodically, plus I have backup of all of the utilities, the groceries, all of the personal checks.
Ms. Trimble, we don't do that in court. If two people decide to live together without benefit of marriage, and then they break up, which they do more than 50% of the time, probably more than 80% of the time, and then come to courts and say, listen, we lived together for 3 years, we lived together for 10 years. During that time, I paid for this, and he was supposed to pay me back, and he never did, and that was 3 years ago or 5 years ago. If you expect courts to get involved with that, you're barking up the wrong court. I tell you that. Put your hand down. I didn't ask you anything.
Yes, sir.
Good. Women do this. It seems to be women do it a lot more often than men. Women say, I'll take care of him. He promised as soon as his uncle straightens out, he's going to give you the money. As soon as he puts his life in order. As soon as he gets the house built. As soon as he sells the truck. Some people never get their lives in order, Miss Trimble.
Right. Well,
And he did give you a check when he left.
Yes, he did.
And in what amount was that check?
That check was for $2,200.
He said it was $2,800. You have the check?
Yes, I have the check here, and
I'd
yes,
like to see it.
I was mistaken. It is $2,200.
Can I see it, please?
And also 2 other checks that I gave her within weeks of leaving anyway. So I actually gave her over $3,000.
Who crossed out paid in full?
I did when I cashed the check.
No, no, you can't do that, Miss Trimble.
He hadn't paid me in full.
No, Miss Trimble, you can't do that, madam. What you are alleging is that over the course of 3 years, you advanced money to this man.
Correct.
And he gave you a check at the time you terminated your living arrangement, and he had written on the check, loan payoff paid in full. You accepted the check, and then you cashed it. If you choose not to accept this check as full payment of all loans, you don't cash it. Give it back to him.
Well,
and let me finish. Okay. And you say to him, I'm not accepting this check. Give me another check that just says partial payment on loans, and then we have an agreement that this was partial payment on the loan. But you cannot take a check and change the face of the check and cash it and say he still owes me more money. You can't do that.
Well, at the time that he had given me that check, he left it laying on my table, moved out, and I had no way to get a hold of him. So my only best interest was to go there, cash the check at his bank the next morning when they opened, so I would at least be guaranteed part of the money that he owed me.
And that's what you were guaranteed, and that's what you're going to get. Period. Who are you?
I'm a friend of hers.
You know anything about the law?
No, I don't.
Good.
But I'd like to add something, Your Honor.
About
You're
what?
saying the loan. Rent and
just a
utilities are not loans.
Thank you very much. I didn't ask for an instruction in the law. The law is that you accept a check in full payment of all outstanding loans.
Thank you.
Stop.